3, 2, 1. Here we go. TikTok. Hello. Hello. Hello to the world. Hello to everyone. Dude, I feel like I should feel better about my life right now. I cleaned up my apartment. I did my laundry, did all my chores, got the place cleaned up. There's extra things that I still need to do, right? I still need to do the deep clean on the kitchen and all that kind of stuff. So that's something I suppose that I need to think about. But I think I might actually go change this shirt real quickly. I think this shirt is interacting very badly with TikTok. But you know what? At the same time, I don't give a shit. That's how I feel. I just don't give a shit. I don't care. I feel like I should feel a lot better about myself, having done all my chores and gotten everything done. But I just feel grumpy and tired and frustrated. I don't know. I suspect everybody feels grumpy and tired and frustrated right now, you know? Hey, Rusty, how you doing? We in here, woo. Yeah, woo! Let's go. Party time. Excellent. Yeah, don't you just feel like you just want to lie in bed and just stay there? Don't you feel that way? I feel that way. It's January here in Canada. And so here in Canada, we put vitamin D in our milk. So if you are feeling a bit blue, drink some milk. We've put vitamin D in it on purpose. If you have a thing of milk in your fridge, make sure you get some milk. And failing that, literally just get some vitamin D tablets. I should do that. I should go get some vitamin D tablets. Because I'm just goddamn milk drinkers. Exactly. Anemone, real good to see you, Anemone. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm feeling burnt out, run down, frustrated. I think the thing that's really killing me right now, the thing that's really, really killing me is that the power structure obviously feels as though it can do what it wants, right? It obviously feels that way. It obviously feels like, what's going on with Doug Ford here? I think I just want to read this right off the hop, right away. So I'm just going to read this. This here's an article from pressprogress.ca. 13 things you need to know about the people trying to end Canadian healthcare as we know it. I hope we get their addresses. Meet the right-wing interests who have launched a constitutional challenge against Canada's healthcare system. Should Canadians receive medical care based on ability to pay rather than need? Serge, good to see you, bud. That's what's looming on the horizon as a group of right-wing activists launched a constitutional challenge against Canada's healthcare system this week in the BC Supreme Court. And observers warn the outcome could transform the Canadian healthcare system from coast to coast. Dr. Brian Day, who is leading the case with help from a right-wing advocacy group named the Canadian Constitution Foundation, that is bankrolling Day's legal team, portrays himself as a champion of freedom. But a closer look at Day and the CCF shows this may not be an accurate portrayal of their motives. Here's a few things to chew on. Good to see you, Radio. Good to see you, that guy. Meet Dr. Brian Day. Day is co-owner of Cambry Surgeries, a private for-profit corporation based in Vancouver operating clinics specializing in various surgical procedures, who argues it should be his constitutional right to charge patients more than what Medicare already covers. Authorities found significant evidence Day was illegally billing patients. So this guy's a sociopath. Although Day claims his court challenge is all about his constitutional rights, it's hard to overlook the influence of an audit that found significant evidence Day had been extra billing patients on a frequent and recurring basis. Day originally filed his lawsuit in 2009, but the BC Medical Service Commission raised concerns about extra billing practices at Day's company as far back as May 2007. His company was formally notified it would be audited in September 2008. Lo and behold, Day filed a lawsuit several months later. The audit, completed in 2012, found evidence Day's clinics extra-billed patients for publicly insured medical services to the tune of $500,000 during just one 30-day time span. I think that's just worth repeating, right? This guy overcharged patients literally $500,000 over 30 days. And this is the guy who's trying to privatize our healthcare system. Canadian Doctors for Medicare explains extra billing is against federal and provincial law and can include extra fees for medical consultations, examinations, diagnostic testing, and other manners of upgraded services. Right? So the whole purpose of having a universal healthcare system is to make sure sociopaths, like, let's get his name right, Brian Day, right? To make sure that this is exactly what the law is designed to prevent. That the law is designed to prevent sociopaths like Brian Day leveraging his position of power against people who require his services. Like, psychopaths like this and total fucking sociopaths like this are the reason the law exists in the first place. And the fact that they're launching a constitutional challenge, like literally what we're seeing is we're seeing a giant billionaire-funded far-right organization use a criminal who should go to jail for his actions as a way to challenge the system and perhaps get, and let's be honest, bribe some judges to get them to overthrow legislation that's specifically designed to prevent exactly this practice from happening. Like, welcome to fucking Canada, right? We're a serious place where serious people are in charge, for real. Before launching his lawsuit, Day hosted a cocktail fundraiser for the Fraser Institute, right? Had to get the absolute most asinine organization involved. Day has also enjoyed a long and friendly relationship with the Fraser Institute, a right-wing, that's a polite way of it, like, I at this point, the Fraser Institute can widely be regarded as a fascist organization, right? Nazi-adjacent. A right-wing think tank that opposes universal health care. Yeah, big shock, right? Your elderly should die homeless in the streets. The year before launching his legal challenge, Day hosted a cocktail fundraiser for the Fraser Institute, where Day advocated a greater role for the private sector in the Canadian healthcare system. Tickets ran as high as $65 a pop, just to rub elbows with Dr. Profit, the man who calls our healthcare system ridiculous. Yes, I'm sure that psychopaths would consider egalitarian systems ridiculous. I'm absolutely positive that that's the case. Day believes poor people do not deserve the same quality treatment as rich people. If it sounds to you like Day is advocating a two-tier healthcare system, that's barely the half of it. Day recently told the National Post that he thinks a wealthy person deserves a higher standard of care than everybody else. We in Canada will give the same level of services to a wealthy person as to a person who isn't wealthy, and that doesn't make any sense, says Day. On second thought, Day has a very strange way with words. I suspect he does as a ruthless psychopath, right? It's worth noting Day once told the National Post that Canada's healthcare system works the same way as North Korea's national airline. The North Korean national airline, rated the world's worst performing carrier, operates on remarkably similar principles to our healthcare system. Day also recently compared his struggle to Black Americans struggling against racism, telling the National Post he sees himself as not unlike Muhammad Ali's role in the civil rights movement. However, as Ricochet points out, unlike Ali, who actually did stuff to oppose racism, a few of the people who would likely feel the sting from Day's dream of privatized healthcare are racialized and indigenous patients. Like, this person should have his license revoked. This person should not be a doctor in our country. Like, period. Like, full stop. Like, he first of all, he needs to go to jail for breaking the law in the first place, right? And for him, this is like a big Hail Mary pass, right? This is how he avoids jail time, right? And you've got organizations like the Fraser Institute and the Canadian Constitutional Federation using this guy's desperation and his overt, like obvious, overwhelming psychopathic nature to try to push forward an elimination of our healthcare system. Like, that, this is who these people are. Like, I don't know what needs to be said to you people. Like, this is who these people are. These people are ruthless psychopaths who are trying to charge you for something that is currently free so that they can go get another Bugatti, right? And join Andrew Tate's sex trafficking ring. Like, they want somebody asked in chat, why do they need this extra money? So they can go to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island and rape children openly in front of people. Like, that's what they want. That's who these people are. And we're just watching them do it in front of our faces. We're just watching them do it. I just feel like I live in a society where we're all just watching psychopaths walk into our daycares, walk out with our children, and then disappear behind a gated community while we all smile and wave at them. Like, ugh. We're only on number 5 of 13. Daydreams of a multi-billion-dollar for-profit healthcare industry in Canada. Another difference between Day and Ali is Ali's fight for civil rights wasn't motivated by profit. For one thing, Day once boasted that the changes he hopes to see include a massive new industry that will profit from $40 billion a year added to the Canadian healthcare system. By added, they mean pilfered from the public. The coming changes will create a massive new industry and enable the Canadian health industry and its workers to enter the international health market, the American market, and participate in the $2 trillion American health economy, right? The highly successful health economy. On the basis of extrapolations from other countries, we may see $40 billion a year added to the Canadian health system, pilfered from the public. Look at this guy. Here he is. Dr. Brian Day. This is him. Just look at his fucking dead, soulless eyes. Like, this is like an old boomer who's going to be dead soon, who wants to poison the well for future generations on behalf of his owners. Like, this guy's a psychopath. He should have never been a doctor in the first place. It's stories like this that should convince us that we need way stronger vetting for our professionals in this society. If these are the types of people who are making it to the top of the chain, right? Like, these are the people who are ascending the meritocracy, everyone. Here's the people ascending the hierarchy of the meritocracy and reaching the top echelons, right? These are the people that are doing it. It means the structure needs to be dismantled. If these are the people that are coming to the top, the structure itself has rotted and needs to be torn down. And it's gotten extremely obvious. Marie, good to see you. Good to see you. Don't know if I said hello. Hello to Alia. Hello to Alia. Meet the Canadian Constitution Foundation. If it sounds like Day has trouble putting together persuasive arguments, don't worry. A right-wing organization called the Canadian Constitution Foundation is bankrolling a team of lawyers to help Day out. The CCF has an agenda. According to the CCF's website, the group's activities involve education, indoctrination, communication, indoctrination, and litigation, bogging the courts down with bullshit. Although others, like the Toronto Star's Thomas Wacombe, describe the CCF as a hidden court challenges program. The group also professes to advance ideas that fall under the umbrella of economic liberty, like slavery, and equality before the law for rich people. Although in practice they attack unions and offer challenge laws that are at odds with pure business interests, their work on equality stresses special privileges for none, leading them to complain about laws that may be perceived as a threat to social conservative values. They're part of an international network funded by the Koch brothers, These guys who should already be in prison and have all of their assets stripped. The CCF has also received funding from and is a member of the Atlas Network, an international network of libertarian, fascist, and Tea Party groups sharing information, resources, and distributing funds. The network includes American think tanks like the Cato Institute, American Enterprise Institute, and the Beckett Fund, a right-wing religious organization that has funded lawsuits challenging birth control regulations. The Atlas Network also includes Canadian think tanks and pressure groups like the Fraser Institute, the Manning Centre, and the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. The network receives substantial funding from wealthy Tea Party donors, including American oil tycoons Charles and David Koch. Right? You see what's happening to our society? Like, you have to see it at this point. Right? You've got to be thick to actually think that your society is working. Literally here in Canada, we had programs where we were delivered healthcare for free. You could walk into any hospital at any time and receive service, and it would be covered by the state. It was a universal healthcare system. Jay, I'll answer your questions, but this is the tone you're getting, bud. We are, and what they are doing, what these overt maniacs, these overwhelming psychopaths, these lunatics on the level of Adolf Hitler are doing is taking something that we were getting for free and then making us pay for it so we can get worse services. Your elderly will die homeless in the streets, and they will drink their wine behind a police barricade and sneer at you, you despicable poors. And you're voting for it. At this stage in the game, if you're voting conservative, fuck you. Fuck you forever. You're not going to be my friend. I'm going to spit at you. If you tell me you're conservative, I spit at you. I think that you are a despicable person if you are voting conservative. You are a horrible, horrible person who needs to stop participating in anything. Stop opening your mouth and talking. Stop asking your stupid questions. Stop giving your opinion. And certainly stop voting. Because I think you're a piece of goddamn shit. And everyone around you does too. You fucking worthless parasites. They have deep roots, speaking of conservative, in Canada's conservative movement. The organization is also deeply connected with Canada's conservative movement. The CCF makes frequent appearances at the annual Manning Centre Networking Conference in Ottawa. They're also organized events with Canada's conservative figures, like Ezra Levant. The CCF's executive director was chief of staff to Jason Kenney. Executive Director Howan Englund was former Chief of Staff to Jason Kenney and Head of Legal Affairs in Stephen Harper's PMO. In 2006, Englund and former Harper advisor Auckland Velshi penned an article in the National Review criticizing a U.S. Supreme Court decision that ruled Guantanamo Bay detainees are covered by the Geneva Convention. The CCF's chairman is old pals with Stephen Harper. The CCF's board is chaired by Andy Crooks. What a great name. Andy Crooks. Pretty accurate. Former chairman of the Taxpayer Federation, Canadian Taxpayer Federation, and co-author of Stephen Harper's infamous Alberta Firewall Letter. Among other things, the Firewall Letter called on then Alberta Premier Ralph Klein to take full control over healthcare and violate the Canadian Healthcare Act. The founder of the Fraser Institute, we're at 11 of 13. Here we go, 3 more of these. The founder of the Fraser Institute is a CCF board member too. On the CCF's board of directors is Michael Walker, founder of the Fraser Institute and the right-wing think tank's executive director between 1974 to 2005. Aside from releasing inaccurate reports that wildly inflate the amount of taxes Canadians pay each year, the Fraser Institute is also known for releasing inaccurate reports attacking the healthcare system. Also joining Walker on the CCF board is Fraser Institute senior fellow Glenn Fox. Are we starting to put together? No, it isn't, Jay. Fuck you. If you vote conservative, fuck you. Get out of here. You piece of fucking fascist shit. Fuck you. If you're voting conservative, fuck off. Right now. And if you stand up and try to defend them, I'm fucking banning you. Get the fuck out of here. You fucking piece of trash. Fuck you. One board member is the president of an anti-abortion group. Another board member, Dr. Will Johnson, is president of the anti-abortion group Canadian Physicians for Life. They're effectively subsidized by taxpayers to oppose public health care. And although the group misses no opportunity to condemn wasted tax dollars spent on health care, so it's ironic that the CCF's charitable status means their activities opposing public health care are also subsidized by taxpayers. As the Toronto Star Thomas Wakeholm has pointed out, thanks to the Canadian Constitution Foundation's charitable status, anyone who supports its particular political causes gets a tax write-off that, in effect, all other taxpayers, including those who disagree with its aim, have to cover. The more successful the foundation is in encouraging wealthy Canadians to support its particular brand of political advocacy, the greater will be the tax loss that other Canadians will have to make up. The CCF took in $813,994 in receipted donations in 2015. Update. Shortly after publication, the Canadian Constitution Foundation deleted several tweets and web pages cited in this history. Here's a list of what they removed. A tweet announcing their former executive director would be appearing on right-wing pundit Everett Levent's TV show on how the now-defunct Sun TV to defend protesting outside abortion clinics. A tweet describing healthcare spending by the BC government as wasted tax dollars. A page on their website criticizing a Supreme Court ruling that stands in the way of American-style right-to-work laws and attacking unions, claiming they do not serve the interests of the workers. A page on their website describing the University of Calgary as a university of censorship after anti-abortion activists were blocked from displaying graphic imagery of bloodied fetuses on campus. These people are psychos. These people are psychopaths. People like Brian Day should be in jail. The Kochs should be in jail. There's a reason why communists talk about the dictatorship of the proletariat, because these psychopaths need to be purged from the civil society. They need to have their wealth stripped. They need to, if they're not in prison, no longer be part of the civil society. They should be allowed to publish nothing. They should be permitted to interact publicly in no way whatsoever. These people are ruthless, overwhelming, demented, dangerous psychopaths who are attempting to make it so that you have to pay for something that's already free, and the result is going to be you watching your grandparents die in the streets. Like, I'm over this. I'm over this. If you're going to stand up in front of me and pretend as though there's anything valuable in this capitalist shithole, then I'm going to call you a demented loser, because that's exactly what you are. You either think that the earth is flat and that Santa is real, or you're just a psychopath trying to pilfer as much wealth from the poor as you can get away with. And those are the only options you have. You don't get to be a good person. Too bad. You don't also get to be a good person. Like, fuck right off. God damn. God damn. Yeah, well, we don't live in Mexico, Jay. And they should get rid of it. Like, if that's what they're saying, they should abandon that. They should abandon ship right away. Because as we move forward, conservative is going to become synonymous with Nazism. That's what these people are trying to do. That's what these people are obviously, overtly, overwhelmingly trying to do. We already have a made system that's attempting to purge the society of the disabled. Like, that already exists. And that's our liberals that are putting that forward. Like, this is a failed country. We are turning against ourselves. We are attempting to purge the society of the weak and the poor and the disabled. It is obviously what we are trying to do. Like, overwhelmingly the case. And the opposition, the furthest left opposition that actually exists in Canada, is basically just saying, okay, but we could make a little bit more money as the poor, you know. Like, we are absolutely overwhelmingly pathetic. We are a pathetic people. And it's just gotten fucking obvious. It's just so fucking obvious. Where can I find that? JT's response to what's happening here in Ontario. Like, where can I find this? Justin Trudeau. Let's take a look. Let's see what the loser, foofy-haired moron, Justin Trudeau, on healthcare privatization. What's he saying? What's he saying? Is this it? No, this isn't it. This is just, I side with. That's Justin Trudeau's own dumb shit. Yeah, I love it. As Ontario moves to allow private clinics to perform more surgeries, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he'll be watching to ensure the principles of Canada's universal public system are respected. Yeah, right. It is one of the primary responsibilities of the federal government in matters of healthcare delivery to ensure that the Canadian Health Act is always respected. Right? So we'll privatize the shit out of the system as long as this piece of paper gets respected. Right? That's what we're going to continue to watch across the country as people are responding in different ways to deliver better services to Canadians in healthcare. He's going to watch it happen. Like, he's going to watch it happen. This absolute pathetic, froofy-haired loser is literally going to stand by and watch the healthcare systems get privatized. This absolute demented moron. No, he's not demented. He's just so detached and out of touch. He's just a little prince with his daddy's name. He's too stupid to actually recognize the devastating impact this is actually going to have on the country. Like, and we're just going to keep going to work. Like, we're just going to keep going to work. We're just going to be like, oh, well, what are you going to do? You know, ha ha. We definitely shouldn't gather en masse and surround the halls of power and camp there and prevent them from leaving, right? We definitely shouldn't cause overwhelming problems for these people. We definitely shouldn't make it so that their regular, normal, average, everyday life is just full of hell, right? We shouldn't be screaming at them constantly. We shouldn't be spitting at them. We shouldn't be absolutely treating them like pariahs. No, we should definitely allow them to keep having power. We should definitely allow them to just keep writing our laws as they attempt to privatize our healthcare systems. We absolutely should do that. At this stage in the game, if you're actually going to vote, vote for literally anyone else. Vote for non-conservative, non-liberal, non-NDP, non-green. Vote for the lady who shows up with 30 cats. Vote for the guy with the boot on his head. Vote for the guy who only says the rent is too damn high. Stop voting for psychopaths who have learned and understand that all I have to do is speak like I know what I'm talking about and everyone will go along with everything I have to say. All I have to do is stand up in front of the nation and say, I care about the principles of today's democracy and I care about what the people of Canada want and enjoy in their lives. And I'm here to ensure the prosperity of the people. And then I can turn around and rape their kid in front of them and they'll literally keep voting for me. Like, stop voting for these people. Stop voting for these people. Jay, you don't know anything about communism. Stop voting for these fucking people. Like, for sure. For real. 100%. Vote for, like, get all your friends together. Find someone who is running, or run yourself. Stop voting for these mad, crazed lunatics who are obviously trying to ruin your life. And yet we're gonna keep voting for them. Like, we're just gonna keep doing it. We can't help ourselves, right? Like, you have, like, the people who are voting conservative are literally like the absolute worst, like the Karens of the world, right? That the Karens of the world got into a little group together, right? And the deluded boomers, they all got in a group together and like, I work hard and I earn this, so I'm going to stay together, and that's why poor people deserve to die in the streets and we should privatize healthcare. Like, that's who these people are. And then you've basically got directly adjacent to them the people who at least head tilt and go, oh, poor people though, oh, we should think about them. But their solutions are literally like, we should make it easy for them to commit suicide. Like, that's the liberal solution, is we should make it easy for people to commit suicide. Liberalism in Canada. And then you go ever so slightly a skosh to the left of that, right? And still on the right wing, by the way. And there you have the NDP, whose basic principle is, well, if people are willing to sacrifice their life to a death cult full of pedophiles, rapists, and murderers, they should at least be able to barely pay their rent. Like, that. This is politics in Canada. This is fucking politics in Canada. Like, this is where we are. This is who our leadership is. Literally vote for anyone else. Vote for the person who you can't understand when they talk. Vote for the person who is standing at the pulpit talking like this. And I think that it's good for Canadians to take care of one another. Vote for that person. Stop being swindled by these overwhelming, obvious psychopaths who are trying to ruin your fucking life right in front of your fucking face. Like, boy howdy, man. All right, Jay. I have not been programmed. I have a political ideology that's been shredded by the government, even worse than communism. Dude, what political ideology could you possibly have that's been shredded by the government even worse than communism? Do you not know about the McCarthy period? Do you not know about the Vietnam War? Right? Like literally capitalists will go into other people's nations and murder their citizens and destroy their infrastructure down to the ground because we want to staunch the flow of communism. Right? The stated agenda for the Vietnam War, the Laos War, the Cambodian War, the North Korean War was to, quote, staunch the spread of communism. That was the explicit reason, the only stated reason. Has the government gone to a country that's attempting to spread whatever your ideology is and blown up 80% of its infrastructure and destroyed its people? Right? Yeah. How about the Bengali famine? Right? Have you got a famine that happened to your people? Like, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You think you would like to. You would not. Like, I'm not interested in a debate bros session, dude. You don't know anything. Like, that's the fucking thing that drives me crazy about you goddamn debate bros. Oh, well, if we were debating, I'd get them. No, you wouldn't. You don't know anything. You think you do. And you don't. And it's annoying. And anytime I sit down and actually try to have a conversation with these debate bro types, the conversation always goes like this. Nonsense that is stupid. And then me talking for a half hour telling them how they're wrong. So just ask the goddamn question in chat. Because I'm not interested in being interrupted by someone who doesn't know anything to tell them how they are wrong. I'm tired of it. I'm just fucking tired of this shit. I'm tired of dealing with people who are like professionally wrong. And fuck, like we got major billionaire donors attempting to fund criminals who are actually attempting to destroy our healthcare system. But yeah, you wanna come in and be a debate bro. Yeah, okay. I just explained it to you because it's annoying. Because you're annoying. That's why. Like, I don't need to spend 20 minutes dealing with a sputtering kid. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Here's an opinion coming out of the Globe and Mail. Ontario does not need more for-profit surgery. The Ontario government's decision this week to move more surgeries out of hospitals in order to address the province's huge surgical backlog is the right thing to do. However, Premier Doug Ford's government is making a big mistake in moving these surgeries to for-profit providers instead of creating community surgery centers overseen by public administrators. Community surgery centers, sometimes referred to as ambulatory surgery centers, are specifically designed to handle high volumes of low-complexity surgery. While hospitals need to spread their resources across many different departments, surgery centers are purpose-built to perform high volumes of operations, such as cataract replacements or knee and hip surgeries. Studies show that community surgery centers can complete about 30% more operations than a hospital in a given day at a similar cost. We have many examples across the country of the safe and efficient care being provided in publicly funded community surgery centers, such as the Jim Pattison Outpatient Care and Surgery Center in Surrey, BC. Many hospitals, including in Ontario, have already established high-efficiency community surgery centers, and most would be eager to expand community surgery services with incremental funding from the government. Other not-for-profit community organizations, such as Kensington Health Eye Surgery Center, would also readily increase their volumes if provided with adequate funding. There is no doubt that we can quickly reduce Ontario's surgery backlog by investing in publicly funded community surgery centers. This is why the Ontario government's announcement on Monday that it would address the issue by moving more surgeries to for-profit providers is the wrong approach. The decision will cause even more strain in the province's healthcare system and will be less beneficial for both patients and taxpayers. With an expanded mandate from the Ford government, for-profit surgery providers will almost certainly compete for staff, such as nurses, currently employed in hospital operating rooms. These nurses are required to be available on occasional nights and weekends to look after patients needing emergency surgery. If these nurses are offered the opportunity to work only day shifts by for-profit providers, it is likely that we will see an exodus from our hospitals. Just as Ontario emergency rooms have closed this past year because of inadequate staffing, we may see ORs shuttering, especially at night and on weekends, even though there will still be a need for emergency surgeries. The risk to OR staffing is especially worrisome since Ontario hospitals have previously been restricted by Bill 124 in limiting pay to increases for nurses to 1% annually. Fucking inflation is 10%. The Ford government is appealing a Superior Court decision to strike down the legislation in November. Were this appeal to succeed, for-profit surgery centers would have an unfair advantage in competing for staff. I mean, I love that they're talking about competing for staff. Like, literally, the Globe and Mail, even when they're critiquing the system, can't stand up and say, this fucks the poor. Like, if you can't pay, you die, right? Like, if you can't pay, you die, right? Like, that's the whole argument. And even at this point, like, they can't even stoop. They can't even stoop down and say what is obvious. That the entire point. Yeah, you are, Jay. You know what, Jay? Get the fuck out of here. Fuck off. All you're doing is causing problems. You're not asking questions. You're not doing anything interesting. You're just a boring bro who keeps going like, come, debate me, bro. Debate me, bro. Why? You're boring and you're a loser. Get the fuck out of here. Jesus fucking Christ. Just some fucking unserious baby, not even interested in engaging. Just spreading his shit around. Get the fuck out of here. Jeez la fucking wheeze. Vietnam Party. Now let's pivot to a country that's actually doing something to help its own people. Imagine living in a country. Imagine living in a country. Wouldn't it be amazing if you actually lived in a country where your politicians took a bribe, your politicians did something corrupt, and they were removed from office? How incredible would it be if you were living in a country where if your politicians did something illegal or wrong or evil or bad, they actually faced consequences for it? Like, let's say someone like, I don't know, Donald Trump, who goes to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island. Nothing seems to be happening to him. Seems like he's completely fine. Well, in Vietnam, the Vietnam Party agrees for President Nguyen Yen Xuan Phay to step down. Why? Because some of the people who were under his charge took bribes. 2 deputy prime ministers have stepped down from their positions, while 2 ministers and several other officials are facing criminal charges. And in the midst of this corruption scandal, their president is resigning. Imagine what it would be like living in a country that was like this. Imagine what it would be like living in a country where politicians actually faced consequences for corruption instead of it being baked in and built into the structure of the system. Can you imagine? What would that even look like? What would that even be like? Living in a society that was like that. You're the real fascist. You fought back. Fucking man. Baby brains today, dude. Baby brains today. I just am exhausted with this fucking baby shit. Yeah, oh, I should be able to come in here and spread my garbage around with no repercussions, and if you don't, and if you do something that has repercussions, you're the fascist. Like, these are the babies that we're dealing with, guys. Like, we're dealing with real babies. Like, people who have not grown up. People who refuse to grow up. I think that's the big one. People who refuse to grow up. Like, it's beyond people who haven't grown up, right? Because But I've spoken to 14-year-olds in here who know how to talk to people. There are 14-year-olds who come through here pretty regularly, in fact, who talk to me. And they talk with respect. They talk with decency. They actually speak in order to try to find something out. They're inquisitive. They're curious, right? They understand how to engage in basic conversation. And then you get idiots like this come in. Make the dumbest possible story. You're the actual fascist. Yeah, the people fighting against fascists are the real fascists. Which is, incidentally, an extremely common Nazi talking point these days. Right? That the Nazis are trying to convince everybody that it's the people who are fighting against them that are the real Nazis. Right? Because if you can get that talking point into the conversation, then anytime anybody fights back against Nazis, they'll lose public support and the Nazis will get to continue doing what they're doing. So when I get a little Nazi in here coming in being a little Nazi, I chase them out immediately because I like to fight back against Nazis, you fucking Nazi. Fucking losers. Just unbelievable losers. But what should I expect? We're a society of losers. We're a loser society that's not interested in, we're literally looking at our government basically saying, hey, you know that thing you get for free that's actually really important and super crucial, right? Super crucial. You like basic healthcare, being able to see a doctor, maybe getting access to some medicine, right? These basic things that normal societies would provide for free. Yeah, you should pay for that. We're a normal society. This is a normal thing that normal people do, right? And if you fight back against it, you're the Nazi. We are a depraved barbarian society. run by absolute ruthless lunatics. And the idea that these people are still being permitted to speak openly in the public sector is embarrassing. And for all of you being like, oh, it's an offense to the free speech. It's an offense to the free speech of capitalists, that's for sure. We wouldn't let mass murdering rapists stand up and talk about what we should do with our children, right? We wouldn't take serious what mass murdering rapists would have to say about, we should let me take care of the children. Yeah, that's a thing that we should, and if you don't think I should be able to say that on a billion-dollar platform, then you're the Nazi. Like, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the dictatorship of the proletariat. That people like this don't even get to participate in the conversation. And even talking to them is considered corruption. Like, you don't get to be part of the ruling class if you even talk to these people. Like, if they own a business, they don't also get to own a newspaper. Pretty straightforward shit. Like, but we're such a depraved, backward people that we actually have people who seriously come in here being like, you want to fight back against Nazis? That makes you the Nazi. I'm a serious person and not at all a dumb idiot. You got it, Command Genius. I appreciate you, dude. I'm mad today, guys. Can you tell? Can you tell I'm angry? And I know that TikTok it can tell that I'm mad. Whenever I get like this, TikTok doesn't spread me around. It's pretty obvious. Like, around this time, I would have like 200 viewers. Now I got 5. But, yeah, more TikTok Nazis banned. Yep. Get the fuck out of here, Nazis. Don't, like, this is the type of guy who, like, when the Nazis would march through, he would be like, well, we don't have anything to hide, so we're fine. They're only going to go after people who have something to hide, you know. Like, and of course, but like, of course I'm mad. Like, just look at how pathetic we are. Like, the reason why they think they're going to get, sorry, rephrase. The reason why they are going to get away with this, the reason why they are going to privatize our healthcare system, and we're all just going to watch it happen, is because we're pathetic. Like, that's the reason. Like, it doesn't seem to matter how much energy we put forward. It doesn't seem to matter how many protests we do. It doesn't seem to matter what we try to organize and get put forward. It doesn't seem to matter. The populace just seems to be like, well, better get to work. Oh, man, I can't believe inflation's going up. And it's like, yeah, of course inflation's going up. They're jacking prices because they can, and they know you're too stupid to realize what's happening. Like, it's the same thing over and 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 over again. The same group of people are trying desperately to fuck you over and make your life difficult, and all you do is go to work for them. And it's like this little cycle that I just keep pointing at, and everybody just seems like we get morons like this coming in being like, I'm more concerned about the fact that you're fighting back against this. Like, this sort of childish, absolutely overwhelmingly baby-brained way of looking at the world. Like, if someone needs to fight back against someone trying to hurt them, they're going to punch. And if you go, they punched back, then you're dumb. Like, you're a dumb person. If you're actually saying, I don't like that they used violence while they were defending themselves against a rapist, then you're a very dim-witted, small-minded, little tiny person who needs to cease participating in the general world around them. Stop pretending like you have thoughts. Generation Y me. I like Angry John. I've been angry every time I see CBC. Grinning. Just be real. He kind of succeeded. You're not talking about healthcare anymore. It's on the screen, grinning. How dare you, sir? I will always be talking about this. I literally just went on a diatribe. Sir. I like you, Grinning. You're a good man. I'm just fucking with you. Ben, they might ban TikTok in the US. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right now, like the idea that it's like China has taken over TikTok, it's so dumb. The servers are in California. Like the legislation passed. TikTok has to send its information through TikTok. The algorithm is under control of the CIA. Like it's the idea that like if they ban TikTok, they'll ban it by saying, "Oh, this is Chinese platform." That's what they'll say. But it's total bullshit. They're just trying to find a way. Like, how many times do I need to say this? When they finally go to war with China, they're going to purge the internet. Like, they're going to purge the internet. Like, it's going to happen. Adam says, I think the Jim guy is scamming our society and his name on healthcare buildings, giving people warm, fuzzy feelings about him, so they're more likely to buy his cars when they're... whatever. This is about Jim, what's his name? Jim Orbison, Jim Pattison. Yeah, Jim Pattison Outpatient Care and Surgery Center. Pattison is the owner of a conglomerate with $12.7 billion of annual sales. The company is the largest car dealer in Western Canada. Yeah, right? So, like, even when we get, like, an article that's like, we're critical about this privatization because it's not using our guy, right? Like, this is all that's happening in Canada, is that it's all just like, how can we privatize the system for the benefit of our guy? Wait a minute, we shouldn't privatize the system for these people. We should give government contracts to these people. Reprivatizing healthcare. Did you know in 2005 that the Canadian Supreme Court ruled that a guy had his human rights violated because he could have afforded an operation privately, but couldn't get one because of socialized healthcare? Yeah, we're a fascist society, dude. Like, we're gonna pay significantly. We're gonna pay very dramatically. It's gonna be very serious what happens in this country. Like, I keep trying to be this canary in the coal mine. I keep trying to be the person who's like, hey, but more and more I'm just like wondering if it's like, no, they know they're being poisoned. Like, all the miners have turned to the canary, and they see the canary, and they look at the canary, and they go, the canary is tweeting, or the canary has died, right? That's the canary in the coal mine, right? That's the reason you have a canary in the fucking coal mine, so that when the canary dies, all the coal miners go, oh shit, time to go, right? And the canary, so they've all looked over, they see the canary is dead, and they all just go, well, back to work, and they just keep working in the poison. Like, and they all know the canary died to it. Like, they all know. That's what this is feeling like right now. Like, we've gone. It's not even crazy. Crazy's not the right word, because it's more pathetic than that. It's like we're just inert. That's what it is. We're just an inert people now. We've just become these like, if you fight back against Nazis, that's the same. You know what? I think it is right. I think it is right that a person should, if they can't pay for healthcare, then why should they get it? You know, that makes sense. Lobotomized. Yeah, it is like we've been lobotomized. Like, it's times like this where I really do start floating out this idea. Like, if we do a church commission, right? Like, back in the 70s, there was something called the Church Commission. And they did an audit of the CIA, right? They did an audit of the CIA. And when they did the audit of the CIA, they found out that the CIA was actively manipulating media. We found out about MK Ultra, where the CIA was literally trying to do mind control experiments and shit like this back in the 70s. Like, if we found out that, if there was another church commission and we found out that the CIA was literally like, yeah, we put experimental hypnosis technology inside of all of these apps, and inside of all inside of all these apps, and inside of all of these screens and all, like YouTube and all this kind of stuff, so that there would be like a flickering effect or something, and it would implant and embed inside of your brain a not just trigger words against things like sharing or egalitarian or love and compassion or empathy, but especially communism. So all of those things are considered despicable to people now because we've implanted inside of their brain through this mass hypnosis. But also, if we also put in a desperate love, like an overwhelming simping for capitalism, Elon Musk, and this kind of like dumb shit. If that all came out in like a CIA church commission, that's what they had done, I'd be like, yeah, no, that makes a lot of fucking sense. Because that's what this feels like. That's exactly what this feels like. It feels like I live in a society of people who despise caring and compassion and sharing, and are overwhelmingly against the idea that people should be cared for or looked after, including their own children, and that the worst, most reprehensible people in the society are actually good. Like, that's what this feels like. That's what this society feels like. And I don't know. It's baffling. Like, it's baffling that anyone would continue to worship these overt psychopaths and spend any amount of time whatsoever attempting to shit on or criticize people who point out what is objectively the case. That these psychopaths are attempting to abandon you and take advantage of your needs. Like, you need food, you need shelter, you need healthcare. These are necessities. These are things that any society needs to be providing for its citizens, and these psychopaths are attempting to bankrupt you and enslave you to them so that you have to work for them in order to get these necessities. And we all seem completely fine with it. Like, it's wild, man. It's wild that we're all just bowing our heads and being like, yes, capitalists. Capitalism is the best system. It absolutely is the best system. Communism has never worked. No, I can't tell you what communism is. But it doesn't work. That's what I know. That's right. We're just like these dim-witted, slow, moronic losers. And these guys come into my YouTube channel and they just have their dick out, just swaggering around. Oh my god, that's the best part about these absolute lobotomized losers, man. Just these absolute lobotomized losers is that they come in here and they might as well just have their dick out in front of me, being like, my dick's the best. Everything I say is completely accurate. You're bad for fighting back. And then they legitimately expect me to waste even a moment of time debating them. Like, can you imagine how absolutely thick you have to be to actually believe that a person who doesn't know anything is worth debating? Like, ugh. No, that's, yeah, they're micropeens. Yeah, they come in and they got their little peen out, and they think it's this big, like, fucking cucumber or something. Yeah, and they're the type to call anyone left of Trump an NPC. Yeah, exactly, right? They put on their fucking red MAGA hat. Not that blue MAGA is much better, dude. Like, honestly, like, the blue MAGA people are in many ways fucking worse, if you ask me. Like, just this fucking absolute... Like, the blue MAGA people are worse in many ways because they look at the MAGA crowd and they go, oh, these guys are losers. And then they act in the same way and have just as lunatic fringe conspiracy theories. Like, the Russians, it was the Russians that did it to Hillary. The Russians are the reason why Hillary got thrown out. Russia did it. It was all Russia. Like, when that was happening, I literally was like, nah. Like, probably not, bro. Like, I just don't know why the Russians would bother. Right? Like, here's how you know that it was all bullshit from the beginning. Is that the Russians are very aware that the American ruling class the American ruling system is primarily theatrical. Right? Like, sure, would they prefer to see someone like Trump in the presidency? I think that's probably right, but they're not fooling themselves. Like, if the plan to encroach towards the border was always in place even under Trump. Yeah, Russia's so weak but so strong. Exactly. Like, Russia's so weak that we should be able to encroach on their border, but so strong that they are the deciding factor. Like, and what's instrumental, or like the linchpin, hey Eric, how you doing, bud? The absolute linchpin in this is that it's based on the idea that the group that are mainly anti-Russia, like the most xenophobic people, are also just gonna fall for Russian propaganda right away. It's just dumbness upon dumbness upon dumbness. And I just like, I want to be able to do this show. I want to be able to do this show and be able to do it in a way that is somehow impartial. Right? To be able to say, like, look at this fucking dumb shit that we're doing. But, like, sometimes it's a bit much. You know? Sometimes it's a bit much. Because, I mean, like, the privatization of the healthcare system throughout Canada is a disaster for me personally. It's a personal disaster. Right? It's a personal disaster. And it'll be a personal disaster for the vast majority of Canadians. Like, literally 90% of Canadians will experience a complete disaster because of this. And we're doing it anyway. There doesn't seem to be anybody who gives a shit. There doesn't seem to be anybody who's actually mobilizing in a meaningful way. Like, are there going to be protests? And if there are protests, are they going to be just like an hour on one place, one time? Probably. Like, Command Genius says, please keep doing this show. It helped radicalize young commies like me. That's nice, Command Genius. I appreciate that. And you're right, bud. You're right. If I have to deal with 1,000 of these dumb fuck losers coming in here with their dick out, pretending like their opinion matters when they don't know anything, but I get one person like yourself, it is worth it. It is worth it. Like, I want to somehow be nice to these people, you know? I know that it's alienating them. That they come in here with their dumb dick out and they're like, "Oh, I'm the super smartest when I don't know a thing. You should debate me, bro." Well, but I don't know anything, but you should debate me anyway. Like, no. Like, hard pass. And I want to be nice to these guys. Because I would like to try to swing hearts and minds. But just sometimes, man. Sometimes it's just not in the cards. It's just not in the cards. Like, I'm just fucking over it. I'm just so goddamn over it. Yeah, do you have the energy to debate bro everyone you cross politely? Well, and Santora, like, it's this is the thing that blows me away the most, the whole quote-unquote debate bro culture, right? Like, these people are illiterate. Like, they don't know anything. And they prove that they don't know anything in the first 30 seconds of the conversation. So it's not a debate. It's someone saying something stupid and being corrected for however long the conversation goes for. And what's the most annoying part about these quote-unquote debate bros is they don't actually let you talk. Right? Like, they say their dumb shit that's based in, like, CIA propaganda or, like, little cartoons that they watch online, funded by the CIA, no less. And they say their dumb shit, And then while I'm explaining to them why what they're saying is dumb, all they're doing is going, because all they want to do, like the only reason they actually want to debate is so they can hear their own voices say words that they think are smart sounding. And it's just dumb. Like, it's just dumb. We all have older relatives who will be screwed by the privatization of healthcare, at least, if not because of our own health issues. Yeah, exactly. And, like, I get to live in a country where I get to see that happen now. You know? Like, it's bad enough that when I go places, I see people just dying in the streets. Like, that's bad enough. It's bad enough knowing that, like, our disabled are basically just getting shuffled through the MAID system. Like, that's bad enough. But now you're going to have people, good, hardworking people, who have spent their life working for this system with the promise that when you get into your old age, that's when you'll get some time, right? That's the trade-off. You get to your old age and now you get some time and you can pursue what it is you thought was important in your youth that we absorbed up in this worthless pursuit of capitalism. So now you get that time, but instead of actually getting that time, yeah, you get to just die in the streets because you're going to have some kind of health concern, right? And we're going to make sure that it bankrupts you, for sure. Like, you could just take a look at the United States. It's what they're doing. That they make sure that they bankrupt people. Like, that's the goal. It's obviously the goal. And now that gets to come to Canada, right? Well, I mean, if Singh has a brain in his head, he'll run on it. I don't think Singh does have a brain in his head, but if he does have a brain in his head, it will be what he runs on, right? Like, the NDP need to figure out, and leftists generally need to figure out, that people are pretty dumb, people are pretty tired. Like, if I want to be nice, people are pretty tired, right? People are tired and exhausted, and they work a lot, and they don't have time to pay attention to what's going on. And the NDP and leftists generally seem to think that they can just do like a peppering sort of thing. Here's my 50-page thesis. Here's our big plan. No one's reading any of that. What you need to win a political campaign is a slogan. That's what you need. You don't need some big, long dissertation, some big, long thesis. Like, the Ford administration proved this. You need a slogan. They didn't even have a plan. They didn't even give a plan to the populace, and they won the fucking election. And if the NDP, seriously, and this is where it gets real serious, if the NDP cannot win an election by saying we should have universal health care, if the NDP cannot win an election on that principle, then they should be widely abandoned. Like, this is it for them, as far as I'm concerned. Prove to me that your existence is necessary or legitimate, right? Like, and this is so egregious, guys. Like, the privatization of the healthcare system is so egregious that if the NDP were to run on the principle of maintaining the universal healthcare system, I will vote for them, right? I will vote for them. That's how bad this is. Like, there's no vanguard party. There's no any of that kind of stuff. But they're not going to do that. What they're going to do is they're going to pepper the issues like they always do. They're going to put out some slogan like the people of tomorrow or the universe of today. Right? They're going to do some kind of frou-frou dumb nonsense. They're going to release a bunch of ads that are full of just like tinkling piano music the way they always do. And they're going to lose again. And they're going to lose to just like frou-frou haired Nazi. And frou-frou haired Nazi with glasses. Eric says, recently the GOP passed a stay and live bill where doctors are required to provide care to a baby if that baby survives an abortion. Yet the Democrats all voted against the bill. I'm actually wondering why. Democrats are opposing this if the baby survives an abortion. Dude, I think it's just partisan hack politics. It's just as simple as like, this Republican bill bad. This Democrat bill bad. Like, that's it. Like, literally. There isn't nuance in American politics anymore. Like I love it when people seem to think like there's some deep underlying conspiracy or some kind of behind the scenes sort of thing or some kind of like nuance that you are all missing and all this. No, it's not. There's no nuance whatsoever. Blue team versus red team. That's what it is. And unless it's actually on an issue that matters to the working class, then the blue team and the red team are allied, right? But if it's just like identity politics or abortion is a great example, right? Red team versus blue team. That's fine. If it's something that doesn't matter to the owners, right? If it doesn't matter to the owners, then it's just petty politics. The blue team said this, so we're against it. The red team said that, so we're against that. That's it. So these people are not smart enough to do anything better than that. I don't know how much power the feds have over healthcare. If Ontario or about Alberta or whichever or the provinces wants to privatize, can the feds even overrule that? Look, Ben, this is outside of this is outside the rule, like just the specificity, the technicality of the law, right? I expect the leader of my country to condemn the privatization of healthcare, to stand up and say the privatization of healthcare is wrong. That's what I expect out of a leader of a rational, reasonable society, and to say we will do everything we can within the confines of our Constitution and our Charter and our law in order to prevent the privatization of the healthcare system. That's what I expect to see, right? So for Justin Trudeau to stand up and basically say, well, what are you going to do? Get fucked, frou-frou hair, loser. Get the fuck out of here. Grow a spine. Grow a spine. Go work for your conglomerate corporation that your daddy helped set up or whatever, right? We all know that's where Trudeau's going to end up. He's going to end up in one of these big fucking corporations as like a consultant where he's going to get paid like a 6-figure salary so that he could show up and do a speech every so often, right? He's essentially just going to be a little bauble for this corporation to be like, oh, wow, we've got former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on our board of directors. We're so important and prestigious. Look at the prestigious respect that our institution deserves because we have former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on the board of directors. That's what's happening. Like, that's what's happening. So let's just get him there faster, right? Let's just get him there faster so he can live out his days making dumb, irrelevant, unimportant speeches to the worst people in the society. Yeah, I want the NDP to do brutal attack ads on the libs. Don't just focus on the cons, because the libs just use the NDP ads to shit on cons to siphon votes off. Like, I'm there, dude. Like, I know for a while there was this sort of sense that's like, we don't want to see attack ads. I want to see some attack ads. I think that these people are ruthless psychopaths. Like, if I saw an ad that said ruthless psychopath Doug Ford attempts to impoverish your parents, I'd be like, great, perfect. Let the people who are voting for Doug Ford know exactly what they're doing and exactly what we think of them, right? Like, you're a despicable person if you're voting conservative. No more of this like, well, we just disagree with politics. No, you're trying to impoverish people. You're trying to kill people. Like, you're trying to kill people on purpose, openly in front of us, right? Like, it's not a difference of opinion. You're a fucking ruthless psycho. Or at least you're voting for one. Like, what's... The only use of electoralism is counting numbers and demonstrating the failure of electoralism. I will say that electoralism is culturally important. I think that the electoral system is culturally important. That, like, it is important that we had the lowest voter turnout in the last election. Like, that says something. That tells you that the opinion of the populace is largely that the electoral system has abandoned them, and so they're just going to abandon it back. Like, the NDP and the Liberals here in Ontario don't represent the interests of the people at all. Doug Ford at least represents the interest of the psychos, right? So the psychos all get together and they all vote for the psycho, and the psycho gets into power. So are we actually going to end up with a political party that even attempts to represent the needs of the people? Yeah, we'll see. That's what I figured, because it is either partisan politics or they're passing another sneaky crap in the bill. No, I don't think they care about the sneaky crap. Like, honestly. The entire principle, the entire premise of like, oh, the Democrats trying to get one over on the Republicans or something like that is just like what sneaky crap? Like, did it offend Jeff Bezos? Because that's like the only guy that counts in that conversation, right? Like, there isn't like a mass of people in the conversation when it comes to American electoral politics. Like, you're talking about 200 people probably. Right? Like, if you were to actually sit, like, the Forbes 500, the Fortune 500, literally, that's the list that matters. Anybody not on that list is irrelevant. And so if it's sneaky crap, and it's like, what sneaky crap could it possibly be? Like, electoral politics is just higher league debate, bro. Yeah, dude. Hey, Wayne, how you doing, bud? You're catching me on a day, dude. You're catching me on a real day. The PM has a duty to enforce the Public Health Care Act. Don't ask me the specifics, because then I'll have to look it up. Private healthcare is just a fancy name for funeral home subsidies. The healthcare of U.S. has led to the death of half my family. Yeah, not surprised about that at all, Centaur. I'm sorry to hear it too, dude. Like, I think this is another reason why I get so wound up, because to me it's like such a no-brainer issue. Like, it's such a no-brainer to be like, yeah, like, everyone obviously needs access to healthcare. Like, that's obviously the case. Like, just for a basic shit, just like literally, like, I was riding my bike and I hit a gravel patch, and I fell over and I broke my arm, right? No, I wasn't riding recklessly. You know, accidents just happen. Like, yeah, and that's exactly what they would do. They'd be like, well, you must have been driving recklessly. So, you know, it's your own fault, so you should pay for that. Or how about just like, literally I was standing on the side of a street. And these are all stories, by the way, that I've known of people in my life. Like, none of this is, like, this is common shit. Like, I know a person who literally was standing on the street corner, just sort of looking off in space, and their heart just stopped. That's what happened to them. And they collapsed, and they were lucky someone was there, called 911. They defibrillated, whatever that is, got his heart started again. Like, straight up, we're not actually in control of our own bodies. Like, we're not actually, like, the masters of our domain or whatever. Right? If your heart just decides to go like, yeah, probably not, bro, then that's what's going to happen. And like, in a privatized healthcare system, that guy would be like $100,000 in debt. And it's frustrating to see that this sort of barbaric, like the United States, like barbarism seems to be spreading. It's frustrating. And the audacity of it. Just the overwhelming audacity of it. Because people have no consciences. They've got no souls. Yet Singh and the NDP haven't said anything about the F-35 or the warship purchases yet. I wouldn't believe anything they say now. And I've been saying that for a while now. Am I late or early? I'd say you're just on time, Adam. Yeah, we'll see how it all goes. I understand the ONDP leader is a woman from a rich neighborhood of Davenport. She speaks like another kindergarten teacher. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the reason why the party can't gain any traction, right? Like, it just seems like it was taken over by kindergarten teachers, like, who seem to think that the issues that are serious to the masses of the people are just inconveniences. It makes perfect sense, because what a capitalist wants to keep us divided. Yeah. Cheaper to taxi to the hospital. Yeah, no kidding, eh? Don't take the ambulance. It's expensive. Just drive yourself. Like, that is, in my view, the most insane thing that can be believed. That, like, literally people are so concerned about going to the hospital they drive themselves, which is obviously a health and safety, like sick people driving heavy machinery on the streets, right? Like, what a fallen people we are. Yeah, Wayne, car dependency and car propaganda is a hell of a drug. So is hyper-individualism. I actually think the hyper-individualism is like probably, it's in the top 3 of the number, like, of the reasons why the society is collapsing, for sure. I think hyper-individualism, money worship. I think money worship is a real hell of a thing, right? Like, really, when you think about, like, Andrew Tate, right? Andrew Tate, who's now going to jail for sex trafficking, thank God, right? After basically confessing to it. Like, but, like, he basically makes the rounds by just going, like, I've got a Bugatti, right? So here's this kind of mixture of, like, oh, I'm a self-made man. Forget about the fact that I'm raping women, but, like, I'm a self-made man. And I can prove it because I've got a Bugatti. And so it's this combination of, like, this hyper-individualist mindset, which is being articulated in today's society as freedom, right? People stand up and say freedom. And we're all supposed to be like, oh yeah, freedom to own slaves. That's absolutely true. Freedom to sell yourself to multinational corporate corporations. Absolutely. Right? And this idea that there is no society, or that there is everybody got to where they were because they ascended some meritocracy or something, right? It's just brain rot, and a brain rot that can be falsified fairly easily, fairly straightforwardly. You can actually falsify this hyper individualist mindset with just a single statement. That fundamentally what you're saying, if you actually believe in the idea of the hyper-individual, fundamentally what you're saying is that your energy is more powerful than the energy of every other person that exists in the society, every other person that ever existed in existence, every institution that they put into place that you were born under, and then also, on top of all of that, the entire forces of the universe itself. Like, the insanity of the statement, once you put it in its proper perspective, it just can't be taken seriously. And yet it's one of the cornerstones of today's modern culture. And so this worship of the individual, and the worship plus the worship of money, has really put us in a place where we're not going to continue as a society. Like, we're really not going to continue as a society. Like, I just saw Sarah Silverman not that long ago talking about how, like, how about we just split America into, like, America 1 and America 2? How about we just, like, become separate countries? It's like, demand better, good to see you. Like, the concept of balkanization, the idea that America should balkanize, is gaining traction. And I think will be taken seriously. Yeah. Greta Thunberg said it best. Capitalism needs to end. There's no other way to address climate change. I mean, but they're not going to go quietly, right? Like, they're not just going to be like, oh, well, capitalism needs to end. We should do it. Like, these people are overt, ruthless psychopaths. Like, they don't care if they're destroying the planet. Like, it doesn't matter to them at all. Like, for God's sakes, like, these are the documents that they're coming out now, right? This is from adaptingtoclimatechange.com. Canada will invest $1.6 billion in national climate adaptation strategy. So the idea of preventing it, the idea that we should stop it and attempt to come back into balance with the world, that's off the table now. Like, that's over. We're finished with that. We're no longer interested in preventing climate change, right? Now it's about adapting to climate change. Now we're funneling actual money and actual resources into simply dealing with the problem, right? Instead of attempting to stop it. Like, we deserve everything that's coming our way. Everything that is coming our way is 100% explicitly our fault, and we deserve it. Virgo Wayne says, "Oh, I definitely agree. The fact people generally believe their actions exist in a vacuum, mixed in with a 'fuck you, I got mine' attitude, is what's fucking everyone over." Yeah. Well, and again, like I was saying it earlier, Wayne, like if it came out that like the CIA was just hypnotizing people through apps and phones and stuff, I'd be like, yeah. Like if we did a church commission and it all came out that that's what the CIA was doing, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like the I think the thing that staggers me so much is just seeing how brazen the wealthy are being, coupled with how gulled the populace seems to be about it. That combination seems pretty wild to me. That like we've already gotten to a point where like I'm starting to wonder here's a great example of what I'm talking about. Maybe it's dangerous to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Like, how is it that there are school shootings like every other day now? Like, how is it that there are just mass shootings that happen in public spaces and all this kind of stuff, but like politicians aren't getting shot at? Like, how is that happening? Right? Like, what is actually going on? In a literal nuts and bolt, like 1 + 1 + 1 = 3 kind of way, where it makes sense for kids and for people to pick up weapons and shoot up like malls, postal offices, schools, and none of them seem to go, wait a minute, we could just walk down to the legislature. It's right over there. Like, oh yeah, we could just walk right over there. It's just right there. Like, why isn't that happening more regularly? You know? And there just kind of comes a point where I've got to sort of wonder what is keeping us so fucking gulled and so just complacent in this overwhelming, like we've gone like well beyond what was going on during the French Revolution. Like we're well beyond it. And it's like if you just introduced like iPhones to the French Revolution, like what the fuck would that look like? Like, good to see you, Watson. Gabby Giffords was shot up in Arizona or New Mexico. Democrat offices and residences were shot up too. I mean, I'm not surprised. Right? I'm not surprised. I'm just surprised it doesn't happen more. Like, I think that's what I'm driving at. Like, I'm blown away that that's not like how many members of Congress are there? There's like 350 members of Congress. So that's like one a day. Right? Like if you did it like once a year, once every day, right? Like I'm just blown away it doesn't happen all the time. Like how is this not the regular news story? Like how is school shooting the narrative and not political offices the narrative? I think that's kind of what I'm driving at. Like how is it that we know all about the school shooters, but we don't know anything about the people who are shooting up political offices and stuff? Like, I'm not saying that we should do that. I'm not encouraging people to do that, but I am saying like I completely understand why someone would. Like, these people are obvious psychopaths. Like, I don't know why we shouldn't expect that sort of thing to happen. And they're so brazen now. Like that's the thing that kills me the most. Right? They're privatizing the healthcare system and they're just so openly brazen. Here we go. You asked me about it. We're gonna read it. We're gonna talk about it. You're catching me in a real dark mood though, dude. So, growing support. This is an article from the World Socialist website. Growing support for far right and targeting of Trudeau within Canada's military. Two recent events exposed the growing threat to the working class posed by far right elements within the Canadian Armed Forces. A fascistic rant given by one of Canada's top generals, and threats made by disgruntled military veterans against the life of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I mean, Justin Trudeau doesn't work on behalf of the working class, so I see two bourgeois organizations going at odds with one another, but okay. Both incidents reflect the increasing self-confidence of fascistic forces in Canada, which lack a broad base of popular support. I disagree with that as well. I think that fascists are very popular. I actually think that fascism is the most popular ideology today. Like, I don't think it has like official like political front-facing support in the way that like Nazi Germany did. But I think culturally, it's the most popular ideology by far. Like, I think it's really, I don't think it's close. Like, I think if you were to actually rank the ideologies, like take like communism, Christianity, let's say, right, things that you give names to, right, and put it down a list, and fascism was one of them, I think fascism would rank as number one, and I don't think it would be close. I think people like fascism. I think fascism is very popular. And you've got like mascots like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro to really show you that that's the case. Tucker Carlson, right? To show you that this is the case. These guys are extremely popular. All right, where am I? But enjoy backing from powerful elements within the ruling elite and state apparatus. That's certainly true. On November 9th, at arguably the most important military social event of the year, retired Lieutenant General Michael Massonnieu received the Vimy Award, which the Conference of Defense Industries Institute bestows annually on a Canadian who has made a significant and outstanding contribution to the defense and security of Canada and the preservation of its democratic values. In the form of his acceptance speech and before Trudeau's national security advisor, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and much of the top ranks of the Canadian Armed Forces and the arms industry, General Massonnieu delivered a fascistic, "Make Canada Great Again" diatribe. Even more significant was the audience reaction. Massonnieu's denunciation of the elected government and the working class were, from all reports, greeted with a standing ovation by the assembled CAF officer corps. Massonnieu denounced the social elements which allegedly stand in the way of Canada's renewed greatness, first-year graduates of woke journalism schools, and workers relying on endless subsidies and handouts who are not taking personal responsibility for their actions. Yeah, the classic fascist stuff that only you can prevent forest fires, right? Like, if a forest fire happens, it's your fault. That's basically the long and short of it. Every forest fire is your fault. That's fundamentally what they're saying. The general decried the toppling of statues, referring to the removal of statues of Canada's first Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald, who directed a genocidal campaign to dispossess First Nations people of their lands so as to open them up for capitalist development. Other than our troops, the only recent figures for whom Massonnieu had praise were Margaret Thatcher, real winner, Queen Elizabeth II, another real winner, and Ukraine's president and NATO puppet war leader, Vladimir Zelensky. Canada bemoaned Massonnieu lacks a great leader, such as Zelensky. To him, Massonnieu offered up the fascistic salute, Slava Ukraini, so straight up Nazism, right? Straight up. Or glory to Ukraine, crafted and championed by the Nazi collaborationist Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists. In the manner of a typical fascist stab-in-the-back speech, Massonnieu accused the Trudeau government, if not the civilian population as a whole, of betraying the military. He declared that the Canadian Armed Forces are under-resourced and lack the state-of-the-art tools for taking to the world stage and seeking alliances. This is coded language for providing U.S. support for imperialistic wars and strategic offensives around the world, which are raising an ever-growing danger of a global conflagration with Russia and China. Yeah, like, our military is essentially a Nazi force on the world stage, right? Pushing forward as much energy as it possibly can. But yeah, if the civilian population goes, maybe we shouldn't be Nazis in the world, then we're the problem, right? It's just like the guy earlier, right? Yeah, you're fighting back, and so you're the real Nazi. The real Nazis are the one who fight back! Massonnieu's claim that civilian authorities are letting down the military and thereby putting the country at risk is one of the most notorious leitmotifs of far-right and fascistic movements throughout history, including Hitler's Nazis. intimidating that the public fails to properly appreciate these sacrifices the military makes on its behalf, Massonneau lamented. The idea of serving in our armed forces is getting little traction. Yeah, nobody wants to go fucking work for the Nazis, right? Like, you guys are going out into the world and murdering people and committing genocides and supporting genocidal regimes like the Israeli forces and stuff like this. You're literally training Nazis in Ukraine. Like, we all know this is the truth. And, oh yeah, big shock though. People don't want to be involved in that. Who knew? Who fucking knew? The officer corps' enthusiastic response to Massonneau's speech underscores that he articulated the sentiments of broad sections of the military security establishment. Yeah, the Nazis, like we know. Much of the military top brass regard the Trudeau government's domestic military and foreign policies with disdain. They believe it is insufficiently politically and financially committed to the projection of imperialist power abroad, view its identity politics-based diversity agenda, and promotion of the myth of Canada as a peacekeeping nation as threats to military discipline and morale, and are angered by its pursuit of sexual assault and misconduct allegations against more than a dozen top-ranking officers. They would like to see the establishment of a more explicitly right-wing and authoritarian regime to more ruthlessly defend Canadian imperialist interests against its geopolitical rivals abroad and the working class at home. The support broad sections of the political elite, state security services, and corporate media gave the far-right Freedom Convoy as it menacingly occupied downtown Ottawa last year underscored that Canada's ruling class, like its counterparts internationally, is breaking with traditional democratic forms of rule. If the convoy, which was instigated and led by far-right and fascistic activists, many of them independent truckers and other small business people or military veterans and retired police, could come to play such a prominent role in national political life, it was because it was built up and incited by the official opposition Conservatives, the hard-right premiers of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ontario, and right-wing media outlets like the National Post and Toronto Sun. They used the convoy as a battering ram to overcome the widespread public support for anti-COVID-19 public health measures. But by whipping up a far-right, extra-paramilitary movement, they also sought to push the Trudeau government further right, destabilize it, and, if possible, precipitate its collapse. Ultimately, under mounting pressure from the Biden administration, international investors, and big business to end the convoy's supporters' blockading of critical cross-border trade routes, the Trudeau government invoked the never-before-used Emergencies Act, thereby granting the state and its police and security agencies sweeping powers of repression. While these powers were initially turned against the far-right occupiers of downtown Ottawa, they can and will be used in the future against working-class opposition to the ruling elite's class war agenda of military aggression abroad and attacks on wages and public spending at home. In his acceptance speech, Massonneau gave vent to his outrage over the Trudeau government's dispersal of the convoy. Saying perhaps more than he intended, Massonneau commented, "Can you imagine a military leader labeling half of its command as deplorables, fringe radicals, or less-thans, and then expect them to fight as one? The insinuation is that large parts of the Canadian military supported the convoy." The Trudeau government, which relies on backing from the Social Democrats of the New Democratic Party to retain power, responded to Massonneau's tirade with an embarrassed silence. Defense Minister Anita Anand offered only a single critical comment, which was buried in the press. The fact that the fascistic filth spewed forth by Massonneau has a growing constituency within the Canadian military, including its officer corps, is a damning indictment of the policies pursued by successive governments, and the Trudeau Liberals included, in support of Canadian imperialism's global predatory ambitions. 3 decades of war and military interventions, including in Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, Haiti, Libya, Syria, Iraq, and now Ukraine, have created a substantial pool of bloodied, battle-hardened and disgruntled soldiers and officers. In the regular performance of their duties, many of these will have participated in war crimes, including torture and civilian killings. The most disoriented have been primed to throw in their lot with a fascist movement. More significantly, as the entire political establishment rallies behind the US-NATO war with Russia, there is a growing recognition throughout the ruling elite that the more authoritarian forms of rule will be required to squeeze the financial resources out of the working class that Canadian imperialism needs to fund its war machine. Already, the Liberal government has committed to spending over $500 billion over the next 2 decades to fund a new weapons and weapons system, including new fleets of F-35 fighter jets, warships, and armed drones. Meanwhile, healthcare is collapsing across the country as a growing number of patients die while waiting for care in overwhelmed emergency rooms, and public education is subject to brutal austerity. In Ukraine, Canada and the Trudeau government have been openly allied with fascists for years. As part of its Ukraine military training mission, Operation Unifor, the CAF helped supervise the integration of the Azov Battalion and other fascist paramilitary units into the Ukrainian Armed Forces and National Guard. This campaign to create a powerful Ukrainian army based on celebrating the fascist political tradition of the OUN, which participated in the Nazi Holocaust in Ukraine, was crucial to preparing NATO's war against Russia. Canadian imperialism has long been instrumental in promoting the Ukrainian far right. It provided a safe haven for thousands of OUN fighters following the World War II, whitewashed their crimes, and assisted them in disseminating their nationalist fascist ideology. The alliance between the Ukrainian far right and the Canadian state is documented in last year's WSWS series, Canadian Imperialism's Fascist Friends. These imperialist operations have fostered growing support within the military for far-right politics. One group expressed this development in the misnamed Veterans for Freedom, which agitated against anti-COVID public health measures. Last month, it hosted a Veterans Roundtable, Coping Strategies for a Canadian Commie Christmas, in which participants chatted about the need to take out Trudeau. In the YouTube video, retired naval officer Andrew McGilvery described secret insubordination by members of Canadian Armed Forces Elite Special Forces Unit JTF-2, who are assigned to protect Trudeau. They allegedly keep an enlarged photo of themselves, posing with Trudeau in their ready room, which shows Trudeau smiling and the two shoulders with, quote-unquote, shitty looks. This prompted Afghan veteran Sean Arnstein to muse, "Makes me wonder what's going through their heads. I mean, why aren't they fucking doing anything? They see everything through the back door. They're the Praetorian Guard. It's how Caesar got taken out." Arnstein's suggestion that the troops should either assassinate Trudeau or carry out a military coup was met with approval by other roundtable participants. There is ample precedent and reason to fear an attempt on the Prime Minister's life from the military. On July 2nd, 2020, CAF reservist Corey Huron crashed a truck laden with heavy weapons through the gates of Rideau Hall, where Trudeau was temporarily residing, in an assassination attempt. The Liberal government and the Canadian state covered up the attack. They refused to even characterize it as a failed attack on Trudeau's life, dismissing it as an isolated incident, perpetrated by a disoriented individual. In fact, Huron was a long-standing proponent of far-right conspiracy theories and was on active duty when he was detained. I remember this event happening, actually. And that was more or less my opinion as it was happening, too, is that they downplayed it on purpose. The Ontario Provincial Police has alleged that Daniel Bulford, RCMP sniper and intelligence officer who served on Trudeau's security detail, leaked the Prime Minister's schedule to his far-right allies before resigning from the force in late 2021 to protest the federal government's COVID vaccine mandate. Bulford was subsequently a leading figure in the Freedom Convoy's security operations. The increasing assertiveness of fascistic elements within the military and state apparatus in Canada is part of an international phenomenon rooted in the global capitalist crisis. In the United States, ex-President Donald Trump and key collaborators within the Republican Party and state apparatus remain free more than 2 years after attempting a fascist coup on January 6, 2021, to prevent President-elect Biden from assuming office. Last week, a copycat operation was attempted by supporters of far-right Brazilian ex-president Jair Bolsonaro in Brasilia. Military generals in France and Spain have openly speculated about launching military coups and massacring large portions of the population, while in Germany, numerous far-right terrorist networks have intimate ties with the armored forces and state intelligence agencies. That'd be wild. I just gotta tell you, that'd be wild. Like, if the military actually took out Trudeau, I'd be like, wow, that'd be wild. I've got one viewer on TikTok right now. I hope you're doing right, all right out there, bud. However you're doing, right? I think that my, first hour of being very angry and shouty on the channel has definitely made it so that TikTok is dead. The algorithm, man. The algorithm is real, dude. Like, I cannot express it enough. But I don't know what to think about this. I don't know what to think about this article. Like, I am opposed to coups in general, right? I am opposed, especially by our own military. I'm also disturbed by the military sentiment. Like, it's very... This ethos that has come out of, like, the Petersonian crowd is childish. And I think that's the part of it that I'm most concerned about, is the childishness of do you still think the fascist convoy was so innocent? I mean, yeah, I do, actually. Like, I'm absolutely positive that there were military forces involved in it. I'm absolutely positive that there were people trying to co-opt it, right? I'm absolutely positive about that. Oh, Tinker, you don't need to retract that message. I've always been positive that there were military forces and people attempting to co-opt that movement, right? But that doesn't make the movement itself, like, I say it all the time about this convoy. Like, literally, how bad does the Trudeau government have to fuck up to even mobilize these guys? Right? These are like the last guys who should be doing this. Like, the more you think about it, the more you realize how true this is. Like, all those guys wanted, literally, all they wanted was to be left alone. That's it. And, like, if you're facing a situation where, oh, all I got to do is leave these guys alone, then leave them alone. Then just leave them alone. Right? Oh shit, we're going to have 500 trucks show up at Ottawa, and it's going to be a big fucking deal. It's going to make a big stink. I'm going to have to make a whole bunch of blah, 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 blah. Just fucking leave them alone. Just do it. Just leave them the fuck alone. Like, I don't understand why this is so difficult to understand. I don't understand why this is so difficult for people. That a group of people whose only complaint from the beginning to the end, the only thing that they actually wanted was leave me the fuck alone. And we're talking about people who literally spend their entire day in a truck, driving around in a truck by themselves. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, who gives a fuck? If you ask me what my actual opinion of this whole Freedom Convoy thing is that Justin Trudeau and his group of liberals are such enormous fuck-ups that they can't even put two and two together and be like, oh yeah, just leave these guys alone. Just, like, leave them alone. Like why are you poking at these guys? You're poking at these guys and they're saying we're going to round up and come together and bring all our trucks down to Ottawa. Then just fucking be like, oh, well, my bad. I don't, okay, whatever. Like, we'll put a one-line exception for truckers in then. Who gives a fuck? Like, who gives a fuck? Like, what a political catastrophe for the Trudeau Liberals. What a political catastrophe for everybody. Like, it's just fucking the dumbest shit of life. No, and again, I'm sure that's the case. All others were white supremacists. Like, no. Like, again, if these guys had a very clear complaint. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Watson. Like, that's all they want. Like, that is what they want. I don't know why I've got to constantly convince you guys of this. I don't know why we're constantly butting heads. Why we're constantly at odds. Well, they won the last election. They have a minority government propped up by the NDP. Like, like, what they want is to get into their trucks and be left alone. Like, how overwhelmingly fucked up do you have to be as a government to just fuck that up? To actually kick this whole thing off. Right? And, like, of course there's military, and of course there's RCMP, of course these elements exist. But, like, they're only able to... But the movement itself is not those guys. Like, that's the difference. That you can pretend like it's like this scheming force Illuminati base that's perpetuated, but the reality is that most of it is just people being like, fucking leave me alone. Fuck off. Fuck Trudeau. Fuck you. Leave me alone. And he won't. Yeah, but like the whole, like this, I think that's what I'm driving at, Watson. It's like the whole thing is just like, it's a snake eating its own tail. It's just like, it's just fucking most annoying shit of life. Because really, the entire thing actually was, Trudeau wants me to do something? Well, I'm not gonna do that. Leave me alone. What do you mean I don't get to drive my truck unless I do that thing that Trudeau wants me to do? Leave me alone. I don't know why I don't need to be doing nothing. I'm a tax-paying man, and I bought this truck fair and square, and I'm going to go drive my truck across Canada, United States, and if you say otherwise and I got a problem with that, leave me alone. What? You guys are going to go down to Ottawa with your big rigs and all that, and you can't drive across Canada anyway because Trudeau won't let you and they won't leave you alone? Well, they're not leaving me alone. We should go down there and not leave them alone together. Let's go do it. Honk, honk. That's the whole thing. That's all that happened. And I get that there's this like overwhelming desire to like connect it to some greater thing, to make it a bigger thing than it actually was. Right? To be like, oh my God, there was an RCMP officer there. Oh my God, there was a military guy there. Oh my God, there was this, there are these elements and all this kind of stuff. Like there are in every single protest I've ever seen in my entire life. Right? The truth of the matter is if these guys had a gun, I don't like what Trudeau's doing, he should leave us alone. And the Trudeau Liberals had been like, okay, this legislation doesn't apply to long-haul truckers. They would have been like, well, all right then. Well, all right then. That's exactly what would have happened. Right? Like, this is the pathetic nature of our politics. That we literally are not responding to the public to such a degree that long-haul truckers feel the need to spend their time and their resources protesting in Ottawa only and exclusively because the government is incapable of just leaving them alone. This is a political botch. This is a political botch. Okay, Adam, okay, fine. Fine. Like, I genuinely don't care. Because unless there are people there, the movement has nothing. Like I get into this type of conversation all the time with people. It's an inverted worldview. It's the idea that, like, oh, there are these people who are in this position of the kind of thing and so on and so forth. And so this is the thing that we should be absolutely hyper-focused on when there's this mass of people underneath holding it all up. If the people are not there, it doesn't matter at all. And the only reason those people are showing up is because Trudeau won't leave me alone. Like, fuck Trudeau. Like, straight up. Like, that's their big political statement, right? And if you talk to them, and if you listen to them, everything they say is basically just like, well, I'm a long-haul trucker, and I just want to be left alone. Like, yeah. And is it possible that we're going to have a coup? And is it possible that there's going to be a military assassination? And is all of this stuff possible? So on and so forth. Yeah. Why am I not ringing alarm bells and trying to be like crazy about it? It's because our society has always been fascist. And none of this is surprising to me. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, whoa, I can't believe that fascists are acting like fascists. And I don't know, maybe I should. Like, maybe I should be more like, big alarm bells, the fascists are fascists. But I'm just like... "13 long guns, handguns, multiple sets of body armor, a machete, large quantity of ammunition, high-capacity magazines were found with the truckers. Many of those were not..." I mean, honestly, Tinker, you just described like a hunting trip. Like, I think the difference between you guys and me in this conversation is that, like, I know who these guys are. Like, I know the type of guys these are. Like, 13 long guns, handguns, multiple sets of body armor, machete, large quantity of ammunition. So they were going hunting. Like, and if they were to use that hardware against people, I would be talking a different game. But they didn't. And, like, I think the big thing is, like, I don't care about the Trudeau Liberals. Like, if the military were to come in and start fucking with the Trudeau Liberals and do a whole bunch of stuff and be like, oh, okay, so we're just, like, going there now. Like I anticipate we are always going to be going there. Like, the society's definitely going that way already. Like, we're already doing it. So, like... yeah, let's shut down Ottawa and take guns for a hunting trip on Parliament Hill. Hunting for who? No, but, I mean, okay, let's... forget about the hunting aspect of it. Like, you're talking about a long-haul trucker, right? Like, you're talking about guys who are long-haul truckers, right? So you're by yourself in places you don't know anything about. Like, most of these guys have guns in their cabs, right? So if they're... And that's where the gun lives. Like, that's where the gun is. It's in the cab, right? That's the house of the gun. And so to say 13, I'm like, oh, that's actually not a lot. Like, when I was fueling up these guys, like, I used to work at a gas station, right? And I would fuel up truckers all the time. And you just look in their cab. There's their gun. It's right there. It's like right there. Like, they don't hide it. You know? And, like, it's not illegitimate. Like, these guys are long-haul truckers. They're by themselves. And that's what they want. They want to be left alone by themselves. And they're going to have weaponry. Like, they just are. I mean, I believe you. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm just... And just, like... To me, the proof is somewhat in the pudding. Like, none of this shit actually happened. Like, you can talk about fascists, overthrow, coup, like, you can throw that shit all over, but none of that actually happened. Nor was it something that they, like, I am yet to see a document from these truckers that actually indicates to me at all that they were even interested in a coup. Like, that it has always seemed speculative. And it has always seemed... And, like, now we're reading articles, and I like this article. It's a good article. But, like, yeah, I suspect that there were certain levels of military personnel that were involved in this. Like, I'm absolutely positive of that. Like, that's nothing new. Like, I don't know. You guys you seem absolutely dead set. Like, absolutely dead set on granting this a lot of political weight, when in truth, I look at it as just like the political side of it. I look at it and go, oh yeah, they could have like done a one-liner, diffused this whole thing. Like, you guys seem to want to just hyper focus on these truckers instead of looking at the people who actually write our laws. Like, that's the part of it that I don't really understand. That the criticism I have is not for a ragtag bunch of like loners who, yeah, are racists. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, what are you gonna do about it? Like, if I don't know why the critique and all of the hyper focusing is on this group of people who can be diffused like so easily, and not on the people who literally have legislative authority to kick in your doors. I think that's a fair thing to say, Watson. Yeah, that's not illegitimate. You're right about that, I'd say. That getting bogged down with the actual truckers is not the issue. That the authoritarian structures of the state are actively cheering this on and abetting it is what is alarming. Yeah, here, let's do that pivot then. That's a good pivot to take, Watson, because I'm talking about, let's stop focusing on the truckers and start focusing on the state. Well, who's more the state than the fucking military? Who's more the state than the fucking military? Yeah, there you go. It's disturbing. It is disturbing that a general would even be talking about wokeness, right? Like, that's disturbing to me. That anybody at high level military would even be using the word woke, which has largely become a pejorative, right? Used by the right against people who care about race and race relations, right? Like, if you actually care about the history of civil rights, and if you actually care about the history of feminism or feminist rights, right, then you're quote unquote woke, and that's a bad thing, and so we use woke as a pejorative now, right? So if you actually care about one another, it's like what I was talking about before, right? If you actually have empathy, facts, truth, like if you actually care about any of that, you're woke, and that's bad. And so it's also like a celebration of anti-intellectualism, right? Yeah, it looks like the liberals are listening to this general with their $19 billion purchase of F-35s. Yeah. Welcome to American-style fascism. The police are going to aid terrorists, and politicians are turning a blind eye alongside the media, while your rights and freedoms are slurped up for cash as the rich. But, like, Compton, like, I really don't care to get bogged into this conversation with critiquing, like, and the reason why I don't really care to critique, like, the convoy people themselves is because they're not really, like if I see I don't know how to describe this properly, but like, first of all, like, these guys are not responsible for spreading COVID around. Like, that's just ridiculous. They're like the least likely people to spread COVID around. Like, they don't interact with people. They don't interact with other people. They literally are by themselves. Like, it's just like they don't have a political ethos. They don't have a political statement. They don't have a political worldview. Critiquing them on this level is like overwhelmingly unnecessary. These are the simplest people in the society. And the idea that they're even in this conversation at all, to me, is something of a complete and total absurdism. That Watson's point is that we should be focusing on the idea that the military and the general, this guy, this Maisonneuve, like, That's very concerning. And I would be, yeah, accuse the Trudeau government, if not the civilian population whole, of betraying the military. He declared that the Canadian Armed Forces are under-resourced and lack state-of-the-art tools for taking to the world stage and seeking alliances. Like, it's tough to watch this happen, man. Like, it's tough to watch this happen. Like, it's tough to watch the society turn on itself like this. That's really what it is, you know? Like, we're all fractionalizing and factionalizing. We're all breaking apart. I talk about balkanization a lot, and stuff like this with the military. Like, the military is a faction unto itself. And it's hard to see explicit statements coming out of the military that are openly fascist. That's very difficult. That's very difficult to see. And to know that the trajectory for lots of military personnel, the next step is often into politics. And to know that the next iteration of our political class will likely be these people who are hell-bent. Have a good one, radio. Who are hell-bent on the destruction and the dismantling of the civil society. That the ethos of the military has become one of not protection or nation building, but of self-annihilation. That we have come to view, I shouldn't say we have come to view, really. We have always viewed foreigners, people who don't live the same kind of life that we live, people who aren't the same color as us, as the enemy. And this ethos is what's going to backfire on us really, 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 really badly. Like, really badly. Like, can you imagine if the country was run? That if the people responsible for making the laws, if the people responsible for actually making the laws were actually of this mindset, that everything should just be owned by someone. Yeah, they're prepping the society for a war mindset. I think that's right. And it's hard to watch that. It's hard to watch that. And it just seems like we're all kind of going along with it, lockstep. It just seems like we're all going along with it, lockstep. Just seems like we're all going along with it lockstep, you know? And it sucks a lot. It sucks the big one. Like, it sucks an incredible amount. That and it's so overwhelmingly pointless. I think that's really the thing that kills me about it the most. Is like how overwhelmingly pointless it is. No, worse than pointless. It's actually worse than pointless. That we are destroying ourselves. That we are taking all of the gifts that we've been given. We're taking everything we have. And we are destroying ourselves for nothing. for nothing at all. Yeah, I think this is what drives people to the right, this nihilism and hopelessness, and the fact that no one is speaking to issues workers face. Well, and that seems to be on purpose, right? That if people actually do stand up and say, hey, we should do something that helps people, then they get eliminated from the discourse, right? Like, it seems to me like everything that is happening is just a natural consequence of the structure of capital itself. That the media system has been bought by the same people who benefit from sending people to war. That the media system exists in order to continue to perpetuate the wealth of the ownership class. And the ownership class benefits from sending people to war. Because first of all, it eliminates, quote unquote, the rabble, right? You can get rid of the rabble from your society. But also you can plunder a lot of wealth from them. And not to mention the plunder and wealth that you get from societies you destroy and invade. And none of this benefits the people, of course, but it benefits the ruling class. But if anybody stands up and actually says, like, hey, maybe not, well, they don't get any traction. And we're so inundated and overwhelmed by the media that we have that it's difficult to actually find people who might even be saying, like, hey, maybe not. Like, maybe don't do that. Maybe don't privatize this, right? And maybe stop these godless wars. Maybe stop this kind of thing. And the entire structure is designed to reward those people. Like, if you stand up and say, yeah, we should go overseas and destroy someone, well, you get rewarded for it. And if you stand up and say, no, we shouldn't, well, then you're pushed out of the discourse. And it's wild watching it happen in, like, real time. It's wild watching the society actively and purposefully at this point, like, eat itself. That I begin to wonder, like, are the people who are committing suicide, are they the canaries of the coal mine for a massive social suicide that we're all committed to? Like, there's almost no reason. Yet, I don't understand this even a little. Yet, this is why you'll hear sections of the working class openly wanting elements of healthcare privatized. It's insanity. Like, it's absolute insanity. Like begging to be enslaved. Like, literally looking at the ownership class and saying, I can't wait to subserviate myself more to these people. It's amazing to watch. Like, it is actually incredible. From just a simple, like just like, how does it happen? Boomer was telling a relative of mine that the nurses union are at fault for privatization. Like, that's staggering. Like, that's a staggering thing. Like, obviously false. Like, how could that possibly even be the case? That the union is what's at fault for the privatization movement. That's right. Like, maybe you could criticize the union for being weak, right? But they're certainly not the ones that are actually pushing forward this privatization movement. It's easy, uninformed but well-meaning people see the failure of the healthcare system and by the propaganda about reliving or relieving the system. Yeah, I don't know about this whole well-meaning people idea. I think more and more that I'm beginning to see that Canadians are not well-meaning people. Like, it's just steadily becoming my ethos that, like, people will be nice to you if in like, Like, we're an antisocial people, mainly. People will be nice to you in a commercial setting. So if you are serving them, they will be nice to you. If you are providing a service, they will be nice to you. But more and more, and perhaps even if you like pause and stop and talk to them on the street, they'll be nice enough to you. But I think that there is an underlying, bubbling, festering ethos that exists within most Canadians that is very, very self-destructive and very, very focused on annihilation. Well, okay, people who haven't made the connection between tax cuts and the failure of a publicly funded system, they may not be well-meaning. No, I just like, I think it's a lot more simple than this. I think that there's just a lot of people who are just want poor people to die. Like, I really do think it's getting there, where the populace is kind of looking at the poor and going, oh, they shouldn't be poor. No, that how dingy. They must be so lazy and pathetic, right? We should get rid of them. Yeah. Like, if you wanted my general opinion of the average Canadian, I think it's basically this. Nah. I think that's it. Just this kind of grotesque, sneering, sort of despicable face. Yeah. I mean, I think conservative voters across the board are sadistic. Like, I think that they're looking to spread suffering into the society pretty clearly. Like, I don't want to pay for that while holding a Bible that says pay for that. You know? Like that. What capital has done to the global south is now coming back home. That's absolutely truth, Tinker. It's absolutely true. It's just, you know, it's starting to come on to me that, like, it is actually going to be very difficult watching it happen. You know? Like, perhaps one of the reasons why leftist channels don't gain a lot of traction is because it is actually going to be very difficult to watch it happen. You know, there's always been a part of me that wants to believe, that has always wanted to believe that I'll be able, I was talking about this earlier, that will want to be able to kind of have that George Carlin-esque objectivity and that kind of detachment, you know, or to revel in the absurdism of it or any of that. And I'm just kind of I'm just realizing, you know, it's not going to be down. It's not going to go down that way for me. You know, it isn't going to go down that way for me. That we're going to watch the fascists take over. Like, we're going to watch this happen. It's going to unfold that way. The populace is not going to mobilize. It's not going to push back. It's not going to create a big protest movement. There's not going to be a big, like, revolution with the flags and the signs. There's not going to be people in the streets. It's not going to go down that way. And it's going to be very difficult to watch. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get personally caught up in it. Right? People like me will get personally caught up in it. Because they're not going to allow people like me just like to talk on their media systems. Like, that's not how it's going to be. People will be nice to you in general on the surface, on first acquaintance. Yeah, just don't overstay your welcome. That's kind of what it is. Hey, John, name a socialist revolution that will leave truckers alone. I mean, if we're wise, we will. Like, I don't know, why bother with these guys? Like, they don't have any power. Like, literally their only power is the very thing that they did. Like, outside of that, they're just like guys in trucks. Like, I don't understand. Like, why are these guys even in the conversation? And the only reason they are in the conversation is because the Trudeau administration completely botched it. Like, this is a political botching from start to finish. Like, this movement shouldn't have existed. It just should not have happened. It'd be so easy to prevent. But when you've got a political class that's up its own ass. These Christo-fascist types would be Exhibit A of these types. Yeah, I think that's right. It comes home, World War II and the Holocaust, essentially colonial atrocity chicken coming home to roost. Well, I mean, you don't even need to look at World War II and the Holocaust. I mean, you've got way more recent shit than that. The wars throughout the Middle East, right? Like, the Ukrainian war right now. Like, you got, and you can see it in, like, what was his name? Dan Hensworth or whatever, the guy with the eye patch. There's like a congressperson, he's got an eye patch, he's like a veteran. And he's all about this. He's just all about, like, abandon the populace for the wealth of the billionaire class. You just need to work harder, buck up, right? It will be block by block warfare. I mean, yeah, take the position of Chris Hedges, right? You don't fight fascists because you will necessarily win. You fight them because they're fascists. And that's right. That is right. Like, that is right. That there is, like, a dark evil that exists within the world. And I don't think it's inappropriate to call it evil. Like, the people who are seeking to take power are essentially interested in creating, like, a military fiefdom, more or less, and are going to act and are extremely, and I think it's important to point this out, they're extremely dim-witted. Like, they're completely run on morality. A dark and sinister morality that does not have its feet rooted in even the most basic, just practical reality about how a society can even be run or can even function. Right? Like, how do you make a society function? Well, none of that is even discussed or is even interested or is even interesting to these guys. Like literally the only thing they'll say is work harder. That's it. As if the systems haven't been completely dismantled and the systems that exist are not interested in complete extraction and exploitation of the working people. So that you working hard does not equal benefit for you. It equals a benefit for the person who does no work, the owner. And none of this is part of the ethos of these military personnel, who all they've ever done is just say, yes, sir. Right? Like, how many times have I talked about this, about the education system, right? To succeed in this society, all you say is, yes, sir. And then go do the thing you were told to do, no matter what it was you were told to do. And what is the military except a system that's designed specifically to reward exactly that? That the great delusion that all of these people are under is not that I've worked hard and I got rewarded for my hard work and I'm a hard worker and you just need to hard work your hard work too, and then you'll work hard and we'll all work hard together, and we'll hard work the work, right? And you must just be lazy not wanting to do your hard work, right? That's the delusion they're under, when the truth is that they just said yes sir and I didn't. That when they were told go bomb a village in Cambodia, they just said yes sir, and I went no thanks. That when they're told wake up at 6 a.m. to grind into a grueling workday so we can get you focused into a machine that asks no questions so that you'll say yes, sir, to the most barbaric possible things ever. Right? You'll just say yes, sir. And I say no thanks. That just because you're working really hard doesn't mean what you're doing is worth doing. Like, is what we're doing worth doing? What's absurd is we have popular black celebrities like Kanye. I I don't think we should call him Ye. Like, straight up. Like, I really think that what we are seeing with that guy is just a decline in a decline in his mental capacity, combined with a decline in his mental capacity combined with personal tragedy. Like he's gone through a divorce. He's obviously going through like personal difficulties very clearly. He's aging. That matters too. And I think he's just off his meds. Like, I've seen videos of this guy where I've seen videos of this guy where people are just going up to and talking to him, like he's on the streets or he's in his car or something, and people come up and talk to him, and it's extremely obvious that he has a serious mental illness, and all he's doing is he's being given this national platform to speak from, and his mental illness is attention seeking. That's what it is. It's attention seeking. And so when you're given like a national platform to operate from, well, what a great way to attention seek. What a great way to get everybody to look at you, right? If that's your only objective, to get everybody to look at you. Yeah, Pace Ages, I think this is just kind of the bottom line of it. And it's the reason why I don't really talk that loudly or that often about his positions, if you want to call them positions. What I will say, and I think it is accurate to critique, is who's platforming him. That's what I think is more interesting. That when he goes on Alex Jones, I think it's interesting that he's going on Alex Jones. I think it's interesting that he's like talking to Tucker. I think it's interesting that there are people in the society that are actually like, let's take a person who is overtly and obviously experiencing a mental breakdown and a mental illness. Like this, it's obvious, right? Anybody in the chat disagree with this? Right? Let's take this overtly mentally ill person and put them on my show. Let them on my show even though they show up wearing this fucking mask. Right? Let them sit on my show while they're wearing this fucking mask and rant about Nazism and the Holocaust and Hitler and all of this kind of stuff, and then pretend like it wasn't just like overwhelming mental illness. Like when he went and talked to Piers Morgan, and the whole time Piers Morgan's basically jerking him off. And I'm like, dude, like this is disgraceful. Like it's disgraceful what we're seeing. But this is nothing new. Like this is nothing new in the American discourse. We always take the mentally ill and make fun of them. We always take mentally ill people and put them on television. We always do this. This is nothing new. It's just now it's a billionaire, right? Like it isn't just some like chef, or it isn't just some a kid. It isn't just somebody who's experiencing some kind of mental disorder that we're putting in front of the nation to entertain us like it's a freak show. Now it's a billionaire, right? Now it's a billionaire. Oh, I mean, that is probably actually technically true, Adam. I understand where you're coming from, looking to Z, but if you could keep that, if you could kind of cap that a little bit, bud, I'd appreciate it. Like, I know that you're saying it in jest, but let's keep it. Let's not even flirt with it, okay? Thanks, bud. I know where you're coming from. No offense taken or anything, but I think that we could do without it. Watson, however, when you're being used as a prop by the like of Nick Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos, it is a serious problem. Yeah, exactly. Who's platforming him? Like, who's coming together and taking advantage of him? Because that's really kind of how I look at it. Like, I mean, when you have like this kind of mental illness that he's got, like when that's kind of happening, right? When you've got, no, I understand liver disease. Let's just avoid it. Let's just avoid it. We don't need to disseminate or break it apart, bud. I appreciate where you're coming from. We could do without it. The like I have I have people who have mental illnesses in my family. I have people who are experiencing similar mental illnesses, right? The attention seeking is part of it, and it is deplorable that people would take advantage of this. And my hope, like my sincere hope for someone like Kanye, is that he starts taking his meds again, that something happens in his life where he starts to recognize, okay, I got to start taking these meds again. I got to start leveling myself out again. I got to start interacting with the world. And I hope he really does look at that period of time and go, oh my goodness. And I hope he tries to recant. I hope he does. But the trouble, and you saw this happen with someone like Michael Jackson, right? Is that you end up getting surrounded by people who are financially benefiting from you, from you going into this decline, right? That if the people around you are financially benefiting from you experiencing this decline, then yeah, it's notable no one has seen him as well. The depression part of manic depression seems to have kicked in. And the dude is seriously manic for sure. Yeah, look, Adam, I understand. Ligon Disease is making a joke. And he's just delving into the absurdism of what's going on, and he stumbled into gray territory. And you've taken offense on that, and I've asked Ligon Disease if he could just take care of that or not move forward in that way, and I think that that's fine. Ligon Disease is a long time. He's a donator. He's part of the thing, like he's part of the process, and I think he's just being absurd. No, look at the Z. You don't need to kick it up, okay, bud? Like, come on, be nice, bud. Like, you don't need to scrap, okay? Like, you did make a comment that's somewhat racist, dude. Like, we could make that argument. Like, if we really wanted to, like, we really want to take it apart. Like, we could take it apart if you like, but I understand that you're just living in an absurd space, an absurd moment. And it doesn't offend me. Like, I'm fine, but it's offended somebody, and we could do without it. That's all. And the reason we could do without it is because now we're talking about this, and now we're talking about, we're spending any time dealing with this, and now this is what the channel is about. And I don't care for that to be the case. So that's all. Like, that's all, dude. Yeah, but he can afford $1 million ayahuasca retreats for his mental health. He can easily address the issue compared to the rest of us. There is something to that, Tinker. You're right about that. But to challenge that, to just sort of push back a little bit on that, is like, how overwhelming a problem is it if someone with his resources is also capable of falling for it, right? Like, it's such a common narrative. Like, I don't mind it, honestly, dude. I think this is a fine denouement to this episode. This episode has been a complete train wreck. This episode's been a complete train wreck, and I'll admit it. I feel like shit. We're talking about the healthcare system, the decline of the fucking society. I'm mad as shit. TikTok definitely deprioritized me. All that kind of crazy shit. So this is a fine denouement. I think the thing to point out with Kanye that I think is valuable is, like, if Kanye West can fall for this trap, anyone can. Right? How common is this? Right? How common is this? That someone is that someone's on medication and then goes off their meds and then has a mental moment, right? Has a breakdown. And Compton, I actually, like, if I think you are right. Like, he's said this kind of stuff in some of his music even. Right? I heard reports that Kanye was on meds about anti-Semitism even when he was, or bad about anti-Semitism even when he was on his meds. But, yeah, it proves anyone can be a bigot. Yeah, that's right. And, but I think that there is something to be said about, like, there is something to be said about, yeah, anti-Semitic, his song Gold Digger, Blue Lanterns bring it up. Yeah, I think that's right. Like, I'm trying to divide, like, let's all just agree that Kanye West is a bigot. He's an anti-Semite, right? Let's all just agree with that, and we can say that's true. And that's a fight that he's going to fight, and that's his own battle, and that's absolutely the case, right? I'm not going to challenge anyone on that, because I actually think that that's true. But he also, like, that doesn't mean he needs to platform it on the biggest possible stage possible and put a big giant arrow at himself and say, I'm an anti-Semite, right? Like, he doesn't need to shine a big light on it and, like, put a thing on it and point at it and be a thing. So, I think both are true. That's the thing to say, is that both are true. And that the reason why he's getting safe passage through Alex Jones and Tucker and all this is because he's is because of his anti-Semitism, right? And it's extra augmented because of his mental illness. So I think both are true. And maybe we should be grateful for it, to highlight this, to show that, like, oh, this is real and alive and undeniable in American culture and in American ethos. Like, someone as big as Kanye holds these views and is now feeling free to disseminate them through the classic anti-Semite channels, which is the right-wing media. Yeah, he's holding a grudge. He said Ari Emanuel went around Hollywood telling people not to work with him. I mean, I don't think many people in Hollywood are going to be working with him anymore. Like, but who knows? Anything is possible. Bill Cosby is launching a comeback. Like, I think Bill Cosby's doing a comeback special, if I'm not mistaken. Bill Cosby comeback tour. Yeah. Like, anything's possible these days, dudes. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, there's a reason the term mask off means something. I mean, Kanye did let his floppy anti-Semite dick flop around on Maine, for sure. Like, like that's the long and short of it with Kanye, man. He took the not only did he take the mask off, he like took his whole clothes off and just did like that, you know, that dance or that movement where you like cycle. Yeah, we got a little thing going on in the chat here. How much you want to bet the cause does an anti-woke subject matter tour? I think you're right. I think you're right. He'll do like 10 minutes on he'll do like 10 minutes doing apologetia or apologetics. Like that's just how it was when in the 70s. That kind of stuff. Right? Boomer shit. Oh my god. Yeah, dude. I actually do gotta time you out for that. Sorry, Legend to Z, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, man. I don't know why, like, I'm asking you to play nice. That's all. That's all. And Adam, I don't think Legend to Z's not trying to be racist. Right? Like, I completely understand the position, like, what he's doing. He's in a joking, absurdist space, making commentary about an absurdist kind of a thing. And you're taking it seriously. That's all. I guess Cosby was pretending he's blind and really sick. Yeah, I think that there was... Like, what was it that actually got Cosby off? He's a trucker? Cosby's a trucker? Oh, did he? Yeah, I must have missed that one. Cosby, now 85, was convicted in Pennsylvania in April 2018 of a criminal sex assault charge. No, look at Z is a trucker. That would be very surprising. Like I know who Look into Z is. Like, I've met him in person. He has his own history with the channel. Like, I'd be very surprised to find out that Look into Z is a trucker. Although, wouldn't that blow everybody away? Yeah. No, that's just it. I just think Look into Z, I know you're listening, dude, and I know you're just playing around, dude. I know that you're just swimming in the absurdism, right? You're just taking that frustration and putting it into that kind of a space. But I think it is alienating. And we're seeing it, right? We're seeing it, and it can alienate. And so, like, I don't really care because I know what it is you're up to and I know what it is you're doing. But I think it is having a negative. It is creating a negative response that we don't necessarily need to have. I regret bringing Kanye up. Forgive me, everyone. It's all my fault. You should. It's you, Tinker. You did it. This is all on you, man. Fuck you, Tinker. You fucking guy. Get him. Truck him. That's so funny, dude. Bit off topic. New Zealand Prime Minister has. Oh, really? The New Zealand Prime Minister has resigned. That is off topic. The New Zealand Prime... I definitely spelled that out. Prime Minister resignation. Oh, why? Go away. Go away. Boo. Boo. Boo, your dumb thing. Boo. Boo. Eat it, capitalism. Labor leader will stand down no later than the 7th of February. Just saying she has no longer enough in the tank to do the job. In a shock announcement. She just doesn't want to do it. I'm leaving because with such a privileged role comes responsibility. The responsibility to know you are the right person to lead, and when you are not, I know what this job takes. I no longer have to do it justice. It's that simple. Watch her take a walk right across and just go to some kind of cushy corporate job. Just watch it. How long was she in office, though? She led New Zealand through the COVID-19 pandemic, the two major disasters, the terror attack on two mosques in Christchurch, the White Island volcanic eruption. 5.5 years. Yeah, she's gonna be a trucker. That's right. You know what, man? I gotta tell you, I don't really buy it. Like, I'm not looking at her being like, yeah, she's just run out of gas and she was a fine leader. She's fine. She just got a better deal. Like, I think that's what we're gonna see here. Like, no, and I'm not saying this to be like, yeah, fuck her, get the fuck out of here. Like, I just think that she's got a better deal. Right? Like, she's gonna go work for some corporation. They're gonna give her a cushy job where she doesn't need to do anything. Like, maybe show up to an office like once a week or something, right? They're going to give her $100,000 a year to do it. She doesn't need to solve any problems or do anything. And if she does need to solve problems, they will literally be like what font to use on some kind of thing. And like, for God's sakes, there have been leaders who like were at the helm of countries through world wars. There were leaders who were at the helm of countries over through like plagues and shit. Like, I'm just like, no, come on, Ligan okay, we're kicking it up. I disagree with you. I think that Adam is engaging in good faith. I think that Adam is offended by what you've done. And even though the nature of that is interesting by itself, and we can ask Adam why he is offended by such things, that doesn't change the fact that exists. And I just don't think I would like to see the chat devolve into bickering over what is a joke. Like, here comes a fellowship of the Brookings Institute. Yeah, no death threats or smears from Rupert Murdoch and a massive raise. Yeah. I think all of that sounds very appealing. Like, if especially given the limited impact that a country like New Zealand can really actually have, if you understand what I mean. That, like, it isn't like New Zealand is the country that's suddenly going to shape or push global politics in an interesting way, right? And what I actually find most interesting about her, what's her, Jacinda Ardern, is that I think she's actually really well known for how, and I'm not really trying to say this to be mean, but like just kind of accurate. Like, she's extremely well known for how unimportant her position actually is, right? Like, she's the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Like, it, and that's not to denigrate her or the Post or the people of New Zealand or any of that, but it's New Zealand, right? Like, it's a small little country. Like, what's the population of New Zealand? You know? Here we go. This is a great thing to talk about right now. I keep this New Zealand population. Like 5 million people. Right? Like 5 million people, and I know who the Prime Minister is? Like, that's, just watch, dude. There's going to be some kind of crazy sex scandal that comes out. In next month, we find out that Jacinda Ardern was actually like the leader of a Nazi-themed kink cult where they would come together and have like fetish orgies with one another. And she knows it's all gonna come out and it's all gonna... It's all just gonna be placed out in front of us. Oh, maybe a Nazi coup she's scared of. She doesn't want to be in power. It has powerful wizards and orcs. Absolutely. Nazi SS kink cult. There you go. Well, I mean, I have called black people Uncle Tom before. Like, I think there is a type of black person who is an Uncle Tom. Like, I think that's absolutely the truth. Like, someone like Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is an Uncle Tom figure, for sure. And maybe that's inappropriate for a white person to use that, I suppose. But I think it's absolutely true. Like, Sowell uses his own race and his own status in the race relations in order to prop up the white supremacist imperialist system. Are there black men called Tom with a nephew? I've never met a black Tom. I wonder. A Thomas. Chinese Uncle Toms are Hanjians. Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker is an interesting example, but actually, yeah, pretty on the money. Herschel Walker, also another figure who is 100% suffering from a mental illness that is so bad that it is ridiculous that not only was he the guy running for office, but he almost won. Like, that's the part about it that is just so crazy to me. That Herschel Walker almost won. You know? Like, can you imagine if he had have won? Oh, there you go. You know a Tom who's black, lives in Baton Rouge. There you go. Does he have a niece or a nephew? Because then he's actually like a straight up Uncle Tom. Like, just he is a Tom that is also an uncle. And there's nothing... Yeah, Candace Owens would be actually a really great example of an Uncle Tom. Like, and I think that Candace Owens is actually probably the best example that Blue Lanterns gives, because she knows what she's doing. I think that's a real big difference. That, like, someone like Thomas Sowell, I think it's possible, right? It's possible that... Why am I blanking on Clarence Thomas? But, like, I think a lot of these figures, like, it's possible that they have their own worldview and their own perspective, and the worldview that they've cultivated and that they've seen around themselves leads them into buying in to the imperialist system, into the white supremacist system. I think that does happen. But someone like Candace Owens, like, she knows. Like, Candace Owens is a gun for hire, right? Like, she is absolutely a gun for hire, who will 100% say whatever you want her to say for money. Like, that is her position from the start to the finish. She is never ever arguing in good faith. She is never ever standing up and saying anything because she believes it, because she doesn't actually believe anything. Like, she's a gun for hire. She's always been a gun for hire. And if somebody says, here's $100,000, say that climate change doesn't exist, she'll say it. She'll go on Joe Rogan and attempt to defend it. Like, there is nothing that she will not, that she won't say. Like, there's nothing that she won't say. Yeah, Candace Owens, married to George Farmer, the CEO of Parler, right? Yeah, she's a gun for hire, man. Like, she's just going to say whatever rich people want her to say. And She's like the living embodiment of an Uncle Tom. That her very ethos from the outset is, I will subserviate myself to the white power structure, to the imperialist structure. And because she has just completely bought in to that ethos from the bottom, right? Just as a natural 100%, that is her base ethos. That the white supremacist, fascist power structure is the best. Then she can justify, oh, this person wants to pay me to say this, so I'll say it. It must be a good thing. Slavery was fun with camping outside and free Wi-Fi. Candace Owens. Like, Jesus Christ. There's no way she said that. Like, there's no way those words came out of her mouth. Like, that's... You know what's really funny? I've never listened to Kanye West's music. I've never listened to it. I think if you played me a Kanye West song, I'd be like, meh. And there's like a little part of me now that now is existing in sort of the now existing Kanye space. There's a little part of me that's like, maybe now I should go back. David Pakman saying years ago he was approached by a right-wing exec from a very famous cable news network. He proposed he will make millions if he switches to the right and they will help him. Yeah. No, I think that's pretty common. Like, there was somebody who did that. Was it Dave Pakman who I'm talking about? There was somebody who did it, though. And it happened right in front of everybody's face. He used to be on with, like, Sam Cedar and that group. I think it was another David. And... he did this. He went from being a left winger to a right winger, and he wrote a whole thing where he's like, "Why I switched to the right," and he gave Dave Rubin. That's the one. Thank you, Watson. Rubin. Oh, thank you, Tinker. Well, everyone insists Kanye has bangers, man. So yeah, and Dave Rubin swapping over was like a moment where I really realized, like, oh yeah, like people just don't. People can literally sell themselves out entirely. Just like they have no moral ethos, they have no moral compass, they've got nothing. They literally are just going to they're just going to do it. Because why shouldn't they? Right? So they have to like go to a cushy job and say some words in a row, and that means they get to live a cushy life and like do whatever they want on their own time. Am I Jewish? I am not. I respect the Jewish people. I work with a Jewish man, and I wish them nothing but the best. I think it's ridiculous that they get targeted. And I understand why. Like, I understand why Jewish people get targeted. It's primarily because they're an easy target. That's all. Like, there's not that many of them. They tend to... exist in kind of smaller groups with one another, right? They treasure and cherish this heritage that they're all a part of and building up together with one another, and you know, so most enterprises of any scale will have a certain amount of Jews in them, and when things start going wrong, it benefits the rich to try to find a scapegoat. And so who's the easiest scapegoat? Oh, the Jews. It's so easy. I think what's happening between Ligandizi and Adam is an interesting thing, because yeah, and Muslims have fit that at one point. Black people have fit that for sure. I just think that what was said in jest, right? Like, I think that what Ligandizi was trying to do is show that Kanye is acting as an Uncle Tom figure, right? And he's doing it with slurs. Like, we can call them what they are, right? That's fine. But I just think Adam has taken it more seriously than it really was. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was said as a joke, in jest, in order to get to a larger point, which is that Kanye is acting as this this Uncle Tom sort of figure, right? And it just, yeah, seems to be persisting. Can we complain about the truckers again? Oh, please, God! I don't think we're all ever going to see eye to eye on the truckers, honestly. Like, yeah, Judeo-Bolshevism was the underlying reason for Operation Barboza. It's just such an easy target. It's just such an easy target. Adam, dude, I just think you're blowing it out of proportion, dude. Like, what I think it's interesting what you're doing. Like, that's what I think's interesting about it more than anything. That, like, you think I'm suddenly going to come around and cause some, like, big thing. And I'm probably not. Because, like, I understand what Ligon Disease is doing. He's telling a blue joke. Like, we can call it for what it is. Right? A blue joke. But this is what we're talking about. A blue joke. Right? Like, in order to illustrate this point. Tinker, I think this is bigger than us. Tinker, this is bigger than Kanye. This is bigger than all of us. Like, I think that literally what we have seen is we've seen one of our regulars put a blue joke that's based in racist rhetoric. Like, we can all admit that, right? That's apparent. And another one of our regulars taking offense with that and airing that offense. And I think that's pretty straightforward. Like, that's what's happened, right? And that even though the comment it has been made in jest, that it has offended someone in the chat. It's like the classic identity politics thing, right? Like, this is like the classic, like, what the comedians are all complaining about, right? This is the moment. It is here and it is happening and it is in front of us. And all sides all think they're correct and all sides think they're all right. And meanwhile, I'm standing here being like, the whole place is burning down. And the truth of it is that it's just, yeah, the woke mob is self-isolating. The truth of it is that Ligon Disease was making a joke and is a young man who is, I think, frustrated. I don't want to speak for you, Ligon Disease, but you're quite vocal about it in the Discord, how frustrated you are about the white power structure that exists here in Canada. And I think John, you scream at swear people at chat. The raccoon slur is completely unacceptable. I've seen you ban others for less. Did Ligon Disease apologize? I mean, I've seen... It is a different sort of situation, honestly. Like, if all it will take is just an apology, is that all it is? Like, you didn't mean to kick the hornet's nest like this, did you, Ligon Disease? This isn't the outcome that you were hoping for, is it? Right? I know it isn't. Right? But if that's all it takes, like, it is probably just best to avoid generally. But hold on, Ligon Disease. To be fair, like, you don't know. Like, maybe this is just a good thing for us to talk about just as generally, right? Is that, like, we don't really know, right? Like, we don't know each other's backgrounds, right? We don't really know where everybody's coming from, right? And maybe it is just best of us to look at one another and say, even if it is in jest, and even if it's as a joke, and even if it is directed at a celebrity, even, it is probably best to just steer away from that, and to just try to keep things above board. And I think that that's probably a fair thing to say, and to move on from there. So, can we agree to this? Can we agree to that? John, oh, here, Cotton, going back to the truckers. My issue isn't even with truckers. The pandemic has basically demonstrated that our society has terrible condition of not being able to work together. Someday, the truckers will have to be told what to do because it actually will matter, and the person telling them is someone they don't like at all. That is as fair a thing as I think I've ever heard said, Compton. And and honestly, I do have to straight agree with you. You're right. Like, you are right. Like, we do need to be able to work together as a people, and to work cohesively, and to work as a unit, especially during periods of stress, and especially during periods of difficulty, right? That we have to actually come together as a people and agree that, like, I might not like this in this moment, and this is like a sacrifice that I am personally having to do, but I understand that it's got a larger impact, and there's a greater good. There is something outside of myself. There's something outside of my there's something outside of my own perspective, or something bigger than myself. There's a greater thing going on about myself. Like the Kanye conversation we're having right now is bigger than ourselves, and and it is very indicative. There's a lot of indications there. There's a lot of, like, it is troubling. Could the two identity reductionists go get a room and duke it out? Oh no, now Watson wants to wade into the weeds. Here we go. This is where it comes down to, gentlemen. Uh-oh. I didn't call it a joke. John's calling it. Well, Ligandazee, is it not a joke? Like, now I do have to ask you, was it not meant as a joke? Like, are you using racial rhetoric not as a joke? Is that what I'm to understand? Because I do actually have a problem with that. I have to tell you. Like, Tinker, I blame you. How dare you talk about Kanye West? How dare you talk about Kanye West? Adam, I think it's really funny that you're bleeping out the Tom. Like, I think that that's funny. Like, why? Uncle Tom. Like, it's not, is it even a slur? Like, is it yeah, like, for real, I want to leave the truckers alone. I want to leave all kinds of people alone, but my God, sometimes the world is just going to conscript you into shit we just don't want to do. Yeah, that is a fair point, dude. Like, that is actually as fair a point, I think, as I've ever heard. That, like, and it really focuses down, to the, the breakdown of our overall institutions, right? I know black people who consider it a slur. I mean, I wouldn't want to be called that if I was a black person. I think that that's true. But, like, if you say the words Uncle Tom on even network television, they're not going to bleep it out. And I do think that there are Uncle Toms in the society, for sure. But, and I understand why it would be offensive to call a black person an Uncle Tom. I think that they would understand why that would be offensive. Like, just as if somebody called me, like, a white supremacist. Like, if somebody called me a white supremacist, I would be deeply offended by that. I'd be offended by that, for sure. It wouldn't make it true. It also doesn't make it a slur, right? Like, it's just like a mean thing to say. Like, that's all. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to, like, it's not going to get bleeped out. It's just a real, it is a mean thing to say of someone. And I'm completely fine saying it of someone like Candace Owens, because Candace Owens, we all know exactly what she is. She has no moral compass. She is a mercenary. Like, she's an Uncle Tom. So, yeah, I don't really know what to do about this. Straight up. Like, I think it is probably for the best that we don't use that kind of language in the chat generally. I think that that's a mischaracterization, like in Z, like a meltdown. Probably not. Like, I understand where Adam, and I think Adam, you're like this. We've had more than one conversation where Adam is very, he wants to put up a shield and he wants to come to the defense. John is a dastardly snow roach. What? A dastardly snow roach? I think I'm tired, guys. That's what I think I am. I think I'm fucking tired. Stridently woke would be the reactionary term. I mean, in all cases. Okay, well, hopefully we can resolve this with some peace. Look at Z, I'll tell you, this is actually one of these situations where just straight up, just like, yeah, I'm sorry I offended you. Like, it's simple as that. Like, I think that's what Adam's looking for, and I don't think it would hurt you at all to do. Sometimes in life, as Compton points out, sometimes life just says you got to do it, and I think that it'd be a fine thing to do. I don't think anyone would think you were weak for doing so. In any case, gentlemen, always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. The billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel. Revolt. Repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.